The Bible is arguably the most enigmatic book of all time. Its depth and richness of narrative, songs, poetry, law, prophecy, and eschatology is unrivaled in its class. This text confounded many for centuries. Attributed to the divine inspiration of the Most High Yah, only a select few were privileged to be able to unravel the mysteries that lie beneath. Today, there are tons of academic gatekeepers who have been able to unlock this coded script using a variety of techniques mostly unknown to laymen. However, today this is no longer the case. Thankfully, Divine Prospect has spent 15 years playing the spook who sat by the door to gather intel on how to best approach the text and get the most objective understanding possible. He is making these techniques available to the general public in the upcoming KHM Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible study classes. For the first time, be able to read the text the way it was intended by the author to his immediate audience. Once you've been able to successfully decipher the scripture, you will then learn how to map it to modern times and yield a harvest of actual results. Sign up today by going to www.patreon.com/Divine Prospect and join the $50 tier to reserve your spot. Seats are extremely limited, so take advantage of this opportunity before it's too late. Peace and shalom. All right. Peace and shalom, family. Peace and shalom. It's your brother Divine Prospect, Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. We in the building. Thank the Most High for another day, another Freestyle Friday. We made it, family. I wasn't here last week, but I'm here today. All praises to the Most High for that. I want to say thank all y'all for your prayers and words of encouragement, for supporting the ministry, getting the word out. Just making this a movement, man. You know what I'm saying? Because so a lot of angry people out there, you know what I'm saying? And we're just trying to bring the Father's light to these angry people, man, by means of our works, so that we can glorify him. Because remember, it's our job to carry, bear, and lift up his name, because we are his servants. We serve him, and him only do we serve, right? So all praise to the Most High, man. Shabbat Shalom. All right, we made it to the Sabbath. Sabbath day actually begins at sunset. That's how we clock time over here. But I say it for those of you who do it around 5, 6 o'clock. So I'll say it in advance. We're definitely going to transition into that time period when it is the Sabbath. So just want to get a head start. Hope all of y'all had a blessed and productive day. Hope all is well. All right, so y'all coming on in if you're going to enjoy the content. And if you are enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button. If you're brand new here, hit the subscribe button. All right, and share this video on all social media handles that you got. Put it everywhere so we can bring this truth to the algorithm and force it to put it in the feed of those who are unaware of this truth. All right, all praise to the Most High, man. So with that being said, a couple things I'm going to share for y'all, and then we'll get into it. I'll give some time for more for y'all to come back in. Panther de Noir, I was about to talk about that, man. How you know that? You was there? You was there, brother? You was in them Clubhouse streets? You seen your man crash out. Yo. Some of y'all like, Divine, what you talking about? Yo, I was trying to find the recording, man. I thought I recorded it, man. I got to see if I could find it, man. Yo, the ultimate bug out came and crashed out. Yo, I've never seen a grown man. I can't say I've never seen. I have seen people that's schizophrenic, people that have mental disorders, people that have compulsory obsession disorder for another grown man. Like, and that's what, I started thinking about it. I said, you know what? I know why Kendrick Lamar said they not like us. I know why he said that. And for the record, Kendrick Lamar is an Israelite. You'll say, Devon, how you know that? He's still an Israelite. We know he came out back in 2016 with Damn, right? And the intro, Mr. Duckworth, speaking with his cousin, was in IUIC. You know the truth. And when I went to his concert recently, he had the Bible in there, the name of Yah in there. He had all of that, right? And he's pushing it in the subliminals, right? So I already know when he wins an award, he says, all praise to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? We already know. That's coded information for those who are in the know. But he still got to operate and feed his family. You feel what I'm saying? He's the highest grossing black male artist in regards to concert sales right now. The highest grossing. So shout out to my brother Kendrick Lamar, man. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. So I understand why he said they're not like us. Because there's people on the outside looking in, and they mad because they ain't got our DNA. I got royalty inside my DNA. They know that when they see that royalty, that regal flair that's reflecting out of your DNA. It's just oozing out of your aura. That royalty that they can never be. That they desire so much that they try to stalk you and they keep tabs on you and they wear wires and all of that. Because they mad they can't be you. So they try to take you down. They try to discredit you. They try to do all of that. We still standing now. I've been in this game, the Israelite community, right now, been 12 years I've been in this game. Since 2013, I've been in this walk, man. Prior to that, I was a Christian. From 2008 to 2013, for 5 years, I was a Christian. Then I transitioned from that into this walk, man. So I've been in this truth longer than I've been a Christian. You feel what I'm saying? But I've been in this walk for 12 years. You know what I'm saying? For 12 years, I had everybody coming after me, bro. Like, contention is nothing new. Threats is nothing new, right? People saying stuff and talking crazy, that is nothing new, bro. That's light. That's what we do. Like, bro, I came from the Bronx. This is nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to really scrap with ninjas. I had to pull out, you know what I'm saying? You know, the toolie and, handle work and stuff. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I got into some fist fights. I won some, I lost some, but I fought. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like physical things, like, you know what I mean? Like running up on plugs and taking plugs packs and all of that. They had to watch your back for 2-3 weeks and then had to stash that somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna put no information out like that. But I've been on the run for real, like against real ops, like in the streets, like real beef. Like this social media stuff is nothing. Like, what is this? I'll be at events, my face be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I go to Israelite events, I go to Christian events, I go to conscious events, I go to scholarly events. I'm everywhere. So it's not hard to find me. So when people say stuff and like, yo, this you want to confront, we can confront, talk about the information, all of that. I have no ill intentions to hurt anybody. But if you try something, I follow Torah's eye for an eye. That's just how we get it in. So my objective is keep that old man in the grave. But there's some people that got that resurrective power and try to be pulling that old man out. I'm like, nah, stay in the grave, bro. Try to keep that old man in the grave. However, just because that old man is in the grave, don't mean that that personality is in the grave. My personality is what it is. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's here. It's not going nowhere. So when you have people, and I'm gonna get into what I'm talking about. You're probably like, yo, Divine, why you in your soapbox for? What you talking about? There's a few of y'all that's in the chat that already know. Some of y'all was already there. And this was yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So let me speak on it real quick, man. Then we're gonna get into our show. I just want to discuss it because I know some of y'all probably like, Divine, what happened? Because I know some people are supposed to give calls back yesterday and stuff like that. I'm gonna explain to you what happened. You know what I'm saying? This kind of threw my day off a little bit, right? Because I was working on some stuff. I was checking out stocks and all of that, and then took a moment because somebody called me out and spent 4 hours on a Clubhouse session unnecessarily. 4 hours just because a Christian apologist wanted YouTube content, because when he posts content about Divine Prospect, he gets views. So he wants content. So I said, okay, I'm going to give him the content he's looking for, but it's not going to be the type of content he's looking for. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to give him the content that he's looking for, but I'm not going to give him the content he's looking for. So I have to move wisely like serpents and try to figure out what's going on. So long story short, on YouTube, there's an individual by the name of J-Man, right? He's a Christian. He be going back and forth with Israelites and Muslims and Christians. He called heretics and all of that, right? But he has a pretty open forum in his rooms where he just let people like just go crazy, right? So somebody pinged me into the room, because typically that's a lot of times that's what happens. Like if I'm minding my business, somebody will ping me into a room, say, "Oh, they talking about Israelites divine." I'm like, "What you want me to do? Want me to swoop in and save the day?" I can't do that all the time. You know what I'm saying? But I can do it when I got time. You know what I'm saying? So somebody pinged me in there because the title was about Israelites lie or something crazy he had up there. So somebody pinged me in. I was in the audience. I said, all right, let me go to the stage and say what's up. You know what I'm saying? Because I never had problems with J-Man. We disagreed on stuff. We even worked together to beat up other crazy people be coming in there, right? So I was like, all right, well, let me come to the stage. I came to the stage and I was like, yo, peace and shalom. He like, yo, Divine, you a pseudo. I'm like, what? Where's this coming from? People on the stage was like, what is he talking about? Because there was already a conversation ongoing and he was getting beat up in that conversation. And by an Israelite, right? And then when I came on stage, he just shifted and said, Divine, you a pseudo. I'm like, yo, J-Man, where is this coming from, bro? You mean I'm a pseudo? What am I pseudo? Tell me what I'm pseudo about. What am I pseudo about? He's like, nah, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you a pseudo, Divine. I'm telling you a pseudo. You're not a pseudo, Divine? No, I'm not a pseudo. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So just completely caught me off guard, unaware of whatever the heck is going on with him. Because again, people think about me and I don't be thinking about them. So I don't know what people's thinking about when they're thinking about me and why they're thinking about me. I just come in there minding my business, like, what's up? But apparently people got me on their mind. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, yeah, stay right there, Divine. Stay right there, Divine. I'm like, okay, I ain't going nowhere. Like, I just want to know what you mean by pseudo. Like, my thing is, let's get into the information. So he disappears for a second. Other people on the stage is talking. Then all of a sudden I see faithful to God show up. Excuse me, faithful to hell, faithful to Satan, faithful to himself. That's whoever that guy is, right? Mike Pereira. All right. So he pull up and I'm like, oh, you went to get Michael Pereira. Oh, so he put the APB out to say, if anybody get Divine in that room, please hit me up. Please, I need to talk to Divine. Yo, you cannot make this up, bro. This was crazy. So I'm just sitting there like, now, just so you know, for the record, me and him had a lot of back and forths, right? I think we squashed it like twice before. Like he was talking mad crazy, like he about to put paws on me and all of that. And I said, all right, where you at, bro? He's, I'm in Orlando. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be in Orlando. This was back in 2020. And I've shared this story plenty of times on the channel. I was like, okay, bro, like we can go into information, but you being real disrespectful. And it's cool. You know what I mean? It's all good. You know what I mean? I'll be in Orlando next month, bro. All right, well, when you come out here, reach out to so-and-so and I'll pull up. I said, okay. See, I don't do all that rah-rah and stuff like that. If I'm going to do something, I just get real calm. I'm like, all right, I'll let you know. And I showed up for Orlando. Now, we had the KHM Orlando chapter back in 2020. So I was already scheduled to go to Orlando. I wasn't going there to look for him. I mean, this is social media, bro. Like, this is social media. And I think this was popping off in Vocab Malone's chat that we had some problems, right? And again, I didn't have the problem. I wasn't coming out crazy or disrespectful, reckless, anything. I was being normal. And then he started turning up. So I turned up that much. He turned up all the way like this, talking crazy. Now, again, he's supposed to be a born-again, holy fire doused, running for my life, seeking after salvation and the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ Christian. This is who this is supposed to be. He's supposed to be sanctified and holy and set apart. This is the Christian now. I'm not talking about some op in the Black conscious community. I ain't talking about somebody from Kemet. I ain't talking about somebody trying to get at me from traditional spiritual African spirituality. I'm not talking about a Muslim. I ain't talking about a Hindu or Buddhist. I ain't talking about agnostic. I'm talking about a Christian now. Now, mind you, he's been in this Christian walk for over 10 years, right? You would think that a person who's been in the walk as a Christian sincerely and authentically, that their character will reflect that. His character has not changed. His character has not grown. He is very immature. And what I realize is that some people who don't grow or don't mature is because they're not being held accountable in real life. See, he doesn't really have much of a social circle. He goes and does his Ubers and comes back home, and he lives in an echo chamber. So he don't really have nobody to talk to, right? He ain't a grown man like somebody with a family and with kids, somebody with responsibility, somebody got to work, you know what I'm saying, a full-time job, you know what I'm saying, somebody got to put pedal to the metal, get in the streets and do activism and work on legislation to make things better for the community, creating programs and services to benefit Israel and those outside of our community. He said he's not doing that type of stuff where he's encountering people with his faces in different places because he's at events and all of that. He's not doing that. So because he's not doing that, the only outlet he has is social media. So he has time to, well, he thought he did. I had to correct him on that. I trolled him on that. I'll get into that in a second. So I realized that this brother really needs some help. Now, it's interesting because I'm going to get into it in a little bit of it just so you're in a kind of a recap and then move past this. But what was interesting about this is that his main objective of that entire 4-hour session where he was doing most of the talking, screaming, yelling, all that crazy stuff. I ain't gonna lie, I turned up on him a few times, right? Because it was annoying, right? But for the most part, I kept my cool, right? But because J-Man is a Christian, J-Man he's actually given privileges, right? For him to talk and be crazy and all that other stuff, right? And I already knew this is a Christian room, right? Even though it was mad Israelites in there. Like after, like when I came in there, they brought faithful in there, mad Israelites started flooding that room. And J-Man's like, yeah, I know all the Israelites in here because of you, Divine. I'm like, yeah, you calling me out. Oh, so you trying to do this so you could boost your numbers. Like, oh, that's why you doing it. And you helping him because he's trying to get content off of that. I'm like, man, y'all, this is crazy. Yeah, y'all parasites for real, man. Like y'all seen Sinners, right? That's them. That's them. They're them bloodsuckers. That's them. Shout out to my brother Roy the Chef, right? Because he mentioned the blood-sucking trait in his song, Karagma. You know what I'm saying? Bloodsuckers trying to come after my birthright. And that's what they try to do. So they bloodsuckers. They don't got your DNA, so they got to try to suck it out of you. Pause. So I realized that he was just in there because he said, Divine, you lied about your DNA, Divine. I said, I did. He said, yeah, and I'm going to play a clip about you saying that you had R1B, which he never played because I never ever in my life said that I was R1B on any audio and any screenshot and in any conversation with anybody. Now, Khalil, shout out to Khalil. Khalil was my boy back in the day, right? Back in time, bro. Like back in 2018, you know what I'm saying? When he was like, you know, really coming over to the KHM side, but he wasn't like an official KHM member, but, you know, me and him was cool and all of that. Then eventually he diverged and started going to traditional African spirituality, more particularly Ifa. Then he turned his back on the Israelite walk because he didn't see that as being authentic and aligning with him. And that was cool. I was like, all right, cool. You know, I have no issues with the brother. You know what I'm saying? We in an IT group together and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But he was on an audio. This was years ago. I never spoke to my brother Khalil since then. Years ago saying, yeah, Divine told me he was R1, this, and that, R1 something. So he never said if I was R1. He never said particularly which particular haplogroup am I. R1 can be it's an umbrella that covers a plentitude of different subclades, right? But he didn't really say what I was. But Faithful to God played a clip. So what was interesting was he said he's going to prove that I lied. So what he did was he played a video that Abu did. Now again, he didn't even do this video. He fed Abu some information. Abu did a little research, and then Abu made the video, right? So he fed some to Abu. So he said, "I'm gonna play a video that proves that you are lying, Divine. You lied about your DNA. You said you was R1B. Then you said that you was E1B1A. Then you said that you was what was that? Haplogroup T." He said, "You can't be all three, Divine." I was like, yo, this popcorn is good, bro. Like, this is some good popcorn. I gotta see this guy is a crash out. He a bug out. So I was like, all right, let's see what he playing. You know what I'm saying? He was hoping that I was gonna leave because he was being belligerent, trying to be boisterous. Like he thought that was gonna like scare me away and I was gonna leave. I actually had time. I was just sitting there making some money with stocks and all of that while he was going crazy. I was like, okay. And I'm saying I was multitasking at the same time. I was in the chat. I was working. I was looking at my stocks and all of that. It was just entertaining. You know what I'm saying? So he told J-Man, like, J-Man, wait, before I play, I need to get on my laptop because that's where I have Club Deck. So for those of you who don't know, Club Deck is the PC application of Clubhouse. It allows you to record, right? It allows you to add extra sound effects, add images, all types of stuff, right? So he wanted to get on Club Deck because he was on his phone first and said that he wanted to play a video. And J-Man said, all right, go ahead and play some. I ain't going to be able to do because I'm on my phone. All right, let me get on my laptop. So he went on his laptop so he can record the session because he needs content. His channel's whack. It got so bad that he's like, yeah, so Divine got 66,000 subscribers. I'm like, I didn't even realize that it was 66,000. Yo, he was bringing out minute details about stuff that I had to think about and say, oh, okay. I didn't even know. Thank you for letting me know. Like, this is real crazy. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what is this? Y'all said Vocab wants beef too, and Ron Dalton. Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. I went back and forth with Ron Dalton before, but I also even supported the brother. You know what I'm saying? Even when he stopped inviting me to the cookout. And then I had enough back and forths with Vocab. I mean, me and Vocab, we've been getting it in pause in regards to, debating and stuff since 2016. I don't really got no smoke for Vocab anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like that's water under the bridge. Faithful was in my target about 5 years ago, back in 2020, when he was going crazy and crashing out. And then since then, I was like, yo, I'm not even dealing with these apologists, but if they want the smoke, I'm here. So back to this guy, faithful to hell, right? So faithful to Mike, that's his name. He's faithful to himself, right? Because he has nobody else to be faithful to. Faithful to Mike decides that he wanted to beef about DNA, and he wanted to record this conversation, right? Because he's acting like a Fed. He's acting like an agent, right? Because he wanted to catch me tripping up. That's what he wanted to do. And what's funny is that every time we have a public forum of conversation, he always loses the popular opinion, right? Like, it got so bad that a sister that was on the stage said, what's all of this for? Why are you doing all of this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what you try to prove? Like, it was really bad. Like, we had Christian, my brother Charles, shout out to Charles, man, Elder Charge, oneness Pentecostal. Elder Charge was like, yo, Divine, how do you know you got 66,000 subscribers? Yo, put your link in the chat, Divine. Let's go subscribe to Divine, man. So I said, all right, put my link in the chat, and I got like 40 plus subscribers because he shouted it out. I said nothing about my YouTube channel. He brought it up. I saw, okay, I'll put it in the chat. Got 40 plus subscribers, right? And I went back and checked those subscribers, and half of them are Christians. Yo, I'm like, bro, what is going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, it was really, he said, faithful to the wire, I'm done. It was really crazy. So anyway, long story short, so we got on, he played the video, he played the audio. Now, he played a video that had audio, but he wasn't the one who made the video. Somebody else made the video. He played a video of somebody else playing a video, making a video, talking about me, and said that I made a claim that I was R1, and that statement came from another person. So they didn't even have direct evidence that I even said that I was R1. I've never said that. I never said that I'm R1 ever. Now, Gorilla Hebrew, I think that brother said that he was R1, right? I remember years ago. I never said I was R1. There's no record of me saying that I'm R1. So he played a video of Abu who made a video about Khalil saying that he heard that I said that I was R1. And then you hear a whole session of grown men, about 4 grown men, talking about Divine Prospect without Divine Prospect present, saying that, oh, Divine said he was R1, but none of them asked me directly if I was R1. I think Khalil was mistaken in our conversations, right? And I had to clear it up with him, but I never said I was R1, R1B or whatever. I never said any of that. So now he already looks bad because everyone was asking, well, play the audio with Divine said he was R1. He had no audio of that, right? Second, then the claim was, oh, you said that you was haplogroup T. So there was a session on Clubhouse, I think probably about a year or 2 ago, where there were Jews that was like Orthodox Jews, Ashkenazim Jews, and they were going back and forth with like Black Jews and Israelites, right? And then I was having a dialogue with a person, a woman, a Jewish woman that was in the chat about haplogroups. And I said, well, what if you find out that my maternal haplogroup is T? Would that suffice for me to be considered a Jew? And she was like, well, I guess it can, and blah, blah, this, and that. So Faithful to Satan was in the chat, and Faithful to Satan was like, oh, so Divine, what you saying, that you haplogroup T? I was like, quite possibly could be that I'm haplogroup T. That's information that I'm getting from my family in regards to their DNA tests, right? On my mother's side. That's what I said. Haplogroup T on my mother's side. Not haplogroup T on my father's side. Because you can only have one. So I was saying haplogroup T. And I was mentioning the amount or the frequency of haplogroup T that was mixed in with other things that's on my mother's side. I didn't really get too technical with the DNA. And I would, you know what? I'm going to do that in one session. I'll go in the DNA. I try to refrain from going too far into DNA because I'm not hung up or strung up on DNA. There's other people that are, and that's their prerogative. But I might just do one quick show or PowerPoint just to talk about DNA, just for people who don't understand the conversation so that they are a little bit more aware. Because it's crazy because I had a whole Clubhouse session with him about DNA for a whole hour. He was going back and forth on DNA. I was putting out articles. He pulled out some articles. We had a whole conversation on DNA. So he was like, all right, so yeah, you sent me some messages in a chat about haplogroup T. How are you going to be paternally haplogroup T? And I said, I never said I was paternally haplogroup T. I said maternally haplogroup T. And then I shared an article that Abu mentions in the video. And I shared 3 more articles. And those articles really was for that Jewish woman in there who he ain't have no smoke for. None of those Jews in there, those Christian apologists, had no smoke for them. They didn't try to authenticate, validate anything, any claims they were making, none of that. They was okay with saying, well, I'm this and I'm that. None of them saying, let me see your DNA chart. Let me see your DNA record. Let me see. And none of that smoke for the Jews, well, Orthodox Jews, because they don't want no smoke with them. They scared. They don't want no smoke with them. We go to war all the time with them. And when I say war, I'm not talking about physical. I got to make sure I preface that. But what I'm saying is back and forth in dialogue and conversation, debate all the time about that. And I'm like, look, I don't care what your haplogroup is. You're not going to inauthenticate my identity claim. We're going to have a discussion about it. And we right there on the forefront, on the front lines, having these conversations. Christian apologists shy away from the Jews, the Orthodox Jews, and they point their attention to us. That's called deflection. That's called respect of persons. They don't want to smoke with them. So I know they ain't built for that. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then he played the second one was screenshots. So if you talk about the screenshots, I was talking to somebody else and he came out of nowhere. I was talking to a Jewish woman about DNA, and here comes Faithful to himself popping up in the chat, just like he did yesterday. Here he come out of nowhere. Devon, what you say? He was happening to go, what, Devon? Just out of nowhere. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? So I had a little dialogue with him, but I was purposely saying, I'm not going to give him too much. And I didn't give him too much. That's why he was unsure. And then I was on a show where they asked me, they said, Devon, what's your haplogroup on your father's side? I said, oh yeah, E1B1. He said, oh, I said, well, that's what I got from my dad's DNA. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is on his side. Well, what about you? So I didn't do my DNA test yet. Then he said, oh, Devon, you said you got it from your dad. Then you said you did your own the DNA test. Then you said he was R1B. Then you said it was this. Then you said, which one are you, Devon? Are you lying to us? Devon, you're a liar. You're a deceiver. And Devon, and the Bible says not to be dishonest, Devon. You being dishonest, Devon. I'm like, yo, for 4 hours, this brother was belligerent, probably slobbering out the mouth and all of that, probably sitting there looking in the mirror, smiling and grinning. This nigga is a real life Joker, bro. A real life Joker. You know, Joker's obsessed with Batman. Like, this thing's a real life villain. Like, y'all ever see the movie Joker? You know, after a while, he started being isolated away from people. That's what happens when you are not socially connected to people who ground you in reality. Like, this is a whole villain arc, yo. That's crazy. I'm about to get my Batman suit and everything ready just in case he decides to crash out. This is crazy. So anyway, so he goes in the whole time. And then the sister asks him, well, what about your DNA? And I said, yeah, what are you? He says, well, I'm Puerto Rican on my mother, but Puerto Rican is not DNA. What are you talking about? Yo, he said he was Puerto Rican on one side of his family. And I asked him, I said, yo, you did your DNA test? He said, nah. I said, so, yo, you going to say that, oh, Divine's a buffoon when it comes to DNA. That's what he said. That's the word he said. First, he called me a buffoon. Then he said a buffoon about DNA. But you haven't even taken your DNA test. You know why? Because he's Puerto Rican and possibly white. And he does not want that information to circulate in the circles because he's the type of person who culturally misappropriates. He wants to fit in with Black people because most of the people that I see in the circle, with the exception of the brother BK Apollo, shout out to brother BK Apologist, good brother, right? Most of the people he associates with are Black apologists. Black apologists. He wants to be us. And I got no smoke for my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. One of my best friends that I've known for over 20 years is Puerto Rican. That's my dude right there. Right? I have no smoke for my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. I love my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. But they don't be doing this stuff because they know who they are and they're confident that we can. But here's somebody that I think he got a lot of European in his blood. That's why he ain't do his DNA test. And that agent colonized inside of him and just coming out, it's oozing out. They ain't gonna talk about what he gonna do to me when he see me and all of that. He's like, yo, Devon, you like 5'5", Devon. I'm like, wait, actually, I'm 5'6.5". So if you're gonna say it, get it right. So yo, okay, shorty doo-wop. Shorty doo-wop. I'm like, yo, when people say shorty doo-wop? Oh, I thought that was played out. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm out with the trends and all of that. But I know I used to say that when I was a teenager. That tells me the state of mind he in. So he wanted to say something about my height. I'm like, bro, you can say whatever you want my height. That don't affect me, bro. I've been this height for years since I was 17 years old. It ain't stopped me from doing nothing. It ain't stopped me from getting money. It ain't stopped me from pulling women. It ain't stopped me from being successful. It ain't stopped me from being a presence in wherever area of society that I am. Bro, just so you know, the highest grossing Black music artist that's touring right now is Kendrick Lamar, and me and him is the same height. So you being 5'6.5", what does that have to do with nothing? I don't care if you 7 feet. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, bro. That stuff, that don't mean nothing to me. So I understood he's in a juvenile state of mind because he's making jokes that stuff that we do in high school. And that's what I said on the. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? I was like, yo, bro, you just upset because your life didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to. And this is the only place you can talk where people will actually attempt to listen to. Keywords attempt. You ain't got this weight outside of here. You don't got all of that. So I'm like, All you had to do was ask simple questions. I would have answered your questions for you, bro. Simple. But here's the thing. This is deflection. I said to him, and I was trying to give him some pointers, and Garfield, he called Garfield in there, and a brother from Yak Gang in there, right? Because he wanted them to be on his side and like D-Rod and all of that. Garfield said, look, this could have been resolved and just asking him 2 questions, and this would have been over with. I was like, I told him, I said, yo, bro, I'm gonna give you 2 opportunities. If you're that thirsty for my DNA, right? I said, because the best thing to do is just get the primary source. Primary source would be my DNA record. If you can get my DNA account, like the actual data, then you don't need nothing else from me. You can get everything from there. Why don't you wait until I furnish it or ask me to furnish it or publish it for you? He never wanted me to do that. He just wanted to say, I caught you in the lie, Divine. So I said, yo, bro, I can fly you out to Atlanta. We can do an event and we can discuss this in person. No, why I gotta fly out? I ain't gonna fly out. I told him I was going to pay all his expenses. I was going to put him up in a hotel. I was going to pay for his flight. And we're going to have the event. I'll cover all costs for the event. KHM will cover all costs for the event. He didn't want to do nothing in person. So I said, all right, brother, we can do a separate session, right? Where I'll get my DNA test. I'll incorporate it into a PowerPoint. And then we can do a whole session, a whole separate room talking about this. No, I don't want to do that. You here right now. So you better answer right now. Be a man and answer right now. I said, bro, bullying don't work on me. You can't use reverse psychology on me. You're not going to force me to bend to your will. And that's why he kept getting upset, because he was like, Divine's not listening to me. And he thought that the people were on his side. And then, when you look in the chat and people doing little emojis on their avatar, even the Christians was like, yo, who is this? This your man's? This your king? This who represents y'all? And the reason why he had to do that is because he kept saying, I didn't know DNA, but I said, let's do a whole separate rule on DNA. He didn't want to do that. I said, because fly out, all expensive. Why would I pay all that money to sit and talk to you about DNA and I don't know what I'm talking about? Why would I do all that? So he didn't want to do either one of those. He just wanted to stay there for 4 hours to say, Divine, you lie. You're a liar. You're deceiving people. Divine's deceiving everybody. I said, Brock said the same thing to you too. But since you want time, you want content, you got it. So at the end of the day, I realized it's because he doesn't have a leg to stand on in any other subject matter. Because in the past, when we talked about other subject matters, theologically speaking, he got trumped. It looked bad. So he had no substance in this conversation. He didn't want to talk about anything of substance. He just wanted to prove to people that Divine's a liar and try to get Christians and both Israelites to fall in this trap about agreeing that I'm being deceitful, I'm lying. Yo, I'm going to say this. I work very hard to be who I am, right? It's no easy feat. I have to wrestle with the flesh every day to be who y'all call me to be. And when I walk in these physical streets, when I walk in these YouTube streets, I walk in these Clubhouse streets, I strive to ensure that the reputation that follows me, that my name is good. Let's see what the scripture says about having a good name, because he definitely don't have a good name, and he's mad about that. He's trying to tarnish my name. It got to a point where he thought I called him the F word, F-A-G. I said, no, bro. I said you a fed. No, you call me F-A-G. And then this brother Terrence, who's another Christian who don't like me, came on and said, yeah, you call him an F-A-G. I said, bro, I didn't call you a F-A-G. I would never call you F-A-G. I don't even use that language. But what happens is you hear the things that you're used to. So maybe somebody in your life is calling you that. So when you hear somebody calling you a fed, instead of fed, you hear the other F-A-G word. And I'm like, bro, I don't even use that language, because I don't be around that to be using that. Like, I don't be hearing that terminology. I never say that terminology anywhere, ever. I've never said that. Maybe when I was super young and conversations coming about that, bro, I don't use slurs like that. I'm a professional, but I don't use slurs like that. I would never call nobody that. So he got a little off of that. Oh yeah, you did. I'm like, bro, I didn't. Like, so, what was I saying? I was trying to wrap up. Oh, so nonetheless, after all those charades, it proves that they did not want to have a conversation of substance. And what's crazy is my brother Joel of SOT. Shout out to my brother Joel of SOT and the brother what's the brother's name? Ashayarala. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. They was in there too, and they was getting called about Terrence, and Faithful to Hell was calling them out as well. It just got into a whole crazy thing. I did a session just to vent about it, and then they did a session and vent about it as well. And if you look at the people that was in my room afterwards, people that was in their room afterwards, and the people that was in there for me and them, yo, we had so many people supporting us, bro. So many people supported us. He had nobody. Yeah, Terrence. And then he called Garfield, and Garfield was being neutral. Garfield was being cool. Garfield know what time it is. Garfield's not going to turn up on me, just like I'm not going to turn up on him. I'm going to be very respectful. And if I don't like something that Garfield does, Garfield knows that in person I will see him, and we're going to have to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Garfield know how to get down. You know what I'm saying? So Garfield's not going to say nothing wild, reckless, or crazy like that. Garfield know. And me and Garfield's cool because we got a mutual respect. But Faithful to God don't know that me and Garfield got that level of respect for each other. He thought Garfield was going to come in there and turn up on me. Garfield's not going to do that. Garfield's not going to do that. And then he brought the brother from Yap Gang, thought he was going to turn up on me. Why would he turn up on me? Why would this happen? I don't understand. Shout out to Yap Gang. You know what I'm saying? Brother Yeshub. You know what I'm saying? And Yeshub used to be in IUIC, and Yeshub made a whole video about Divine Prospect years ago. I was like, brother, you got to get out that dogma, blah, blah. And then from there, he started his Yap Gang journey, Genesis 49ers. You know what I'm saying? So all power to that brother. You know what I'm saying? In the Yap Gang. You know, I got no smoke with Yap Gang. None. If they got an issue or whatever with me, they can just deal with me directly. Brothers from Yap Gang reached out to me directly on stuff, and I had conversations with brothers. I got no problems with them. And they don't be talking crazy like that. So I can have a real conversation. But what happens is it's like a colonizer who you don't invite to a cookout decides to invite himself and decides to force himself on other people there at the cookout. Like laughing louder than everybody else, getting into people's conversations, getting into people's business and all of that, you know, going behind, you know, doing like this and touching the food and all of that. Like that's the type of person we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. And this is why I commend those brothers from SOT who handled him very, very professionally with decorum and tact. As we know, when we hear somebody that's crazy and loud like that, they just blowing hot smoke. I never seen Faithful in front of any camps before. I never see him show up to any of my events before. We don't see him nowhere. We don't. We know what he looked like. I got people in Orlando that keep tabs on him. I didn't ask them to do that. They say, yo, Devon, green light, right? I'm like, yo, do what you want to do. They're like, yo, we see him come out of this house. We see him going doing this. They're the ones that told me about his Uber and all that. They told me about all of that. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know. And that's the problem. That's why even in the truth, like if you saying that your life has been changed by this culture, by this book, by this way of life, brother, the way you deal with people got to be different than you did when you was 20 years old. So when you're 20 years old, you got the time, you got the energy to be reckless and wild. When you get older, you got a family, you got a wife, you got responsibilities, you got a ministry, right? You got a congregation. Like when you have those things, it humbles you, right? It stabilizes you, right? And you realize that it's not just about you. Other people depend on you. You know what I'm saying? Like my life feeds other people. I'm not just talking about my immediate family. Outside of my family, I feed other people. Other mouths get fed. So if something happens to me, something's going to happen to them. I try to teach people to be autonomous, but until they get to that point, some people need. So the key thing is he has nothing to lose. So he would want one of us to crash out. He would want something bad to happen so that way he can use that as arsenal to paint a bad public image about us. But we are brothers that walk with integrity, right? Because we know how to handle ourselves, even if we disagree. So when I saw the other Christian apologists that was in there, none of them got on stage and calmed that dude down. I told J-Man, you the mod, brother. You need to step in. No, I'm not going to step in. I ain't going to mute nobody's mic. I ain't your father. All right. Yo, that's the last time I'm be in J-Man's room. I ain't going in that room no more. And no Israelite should be in J-Man's room. You're an Israelite, don't go to his room no more, man. Don't go to his room. They're going to die off, right? I was listening to Brother Joel yesterday. Did a whole session in regards to this, right? Yo, they only have fuel because of us. They have no other purpose but to talk about Israelites. We don't be thinking about them. We be teaching. We be out there helping our people. We out there creating programs and services, taking care of things on the back end, sharing, teaching. We don't have time to do all this extra stuff. Now, I ain't gonna say if y'all pull up, you know what I'm saying? If y'all pull up to my event, which I had Christian apologists pull up to my event, if you pull up on my live stream, if you pull up on social media, I'm gonna address you. But that's not why we exist. That's not why we exist. But this is why they exist, and they don't have anything without that. So, with that being said, at the end of the day, I got nothing else to say to this brother, faithful to hell, faithful to himself, faithful to Michael, faithful to Satan, faithful to Lucifer, faithful to the mirror on his wall. He probably got, somebody said he had a divine prospect poster up, and he said he had the Holy Trinity. He had what they say? They said they had Joel, they had me, they had who's the other brother they said they had, man? I forgot the other Israelite brother. But they say he had the Holy Trinity up in his wall. So every day he see all of us. He be laying down in his bed, and he got pictures of us up on the ceiling. He just be looking up and say, oh man, today I gotta go find these brothers, yo. Somebody, I was dying. I was like, yo. Oh man. So anyway, that was just my my Clubhouse venture yesterday. And I know y'all was trying to reach out to me, but that's what I was doing, man. I was just like, I was done with it. So anyway, I'm gonna transition for that. I see SOT in the building. I saw my brother Hassan. Where brother Hassan at, man? Brother Hassan in the building, SOT in the building, all praises, man. Let me give some shout outs and let's get into the show. I spent too much time on it, 48 minutes on nothing. All right, so let's get into something, man. Shout out to Unknown L in the building, Panther De Noir, the Black Carib, Double T, the Hebrew, Shalom Stacks, my brother Stacks, what's going on? Sister Yapa, Kalaya, Kimberly M, Ice You Cole, what's going on, brother? Let's see, who else? Sin Cal TV, what's going on? Yo, yo, you was there too, brother. Yo, this brother said in August, we said August 16th, 2021, Divine, you said this at so-and-so time. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, and in June of 2022, you said this at this time. Okay. And then you said this in 2023 at this time, and it was at nighttime, and I was eating a snack. I'm like, wait, what? Like, okay. Wait, what? Yeah, and you got 66,000 subscribers on YouTube. Okay. And you have, I think you said you had like 14,000 subscribers on Facebook, and I had 28 or 29,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, okay, what? Why are you telling me this? I don't even keep track of that stuff. Like, what? Who does that? Yeah, Divine, and you like 5'5", Divine. I'm like, well, 5'6.5", but you got you kind of close. You like, so where are you getting this information from? Like, what? Like where is this coming from? And I kept calling him a Fed. I said, you acting like an agent. I said, you wearing a digital wire. Yo, who keeps that amount of tabs on anybody? Only when you have time. Yo, I have a family, bro. I got 6 other members of my family. Bro, I don't got time to pay attention to no other grown man like that. Bro, I got 2 IT jobs that I work full time. I ain't got time to pay attention to grown men like that. I got a whole ministry that has 800 plus people attached to it. I don't got time to follow no grown man, even somebody I don't like. I'm especially not going to follow you. How you get all those details on me just on a whim? Like he had a whole piece of paper and right in front of me with all the stats on it. I'm like, bro, this is weird. You're not like us. You're not like us. You hang around the black apologists because you think you one of us. You're not like us, bro. Not like us. Shout out to BK Apologist. That's a Christian apologist, right? That brother was cool with me back in the day. We don't got no smoke with each other now. But if you're going to be a Hispanic apologist, be like him. Like, he got swag and all of that. That brother's cool. He authentic. I met him in real life. I could co-sign. Like, that's a real good dude. Now, we on opposite sides of the fence when it comes to theology, but that's a good dude. Don't be like your European side, Pereira. Like, you doing too much. Mikey, don't do that. All right. I was about to call him a Ninja Turtle and all of that, but I say, nah. You know what I'm saying? Because he bald on the top and all that. He looked like a Ninja Turtle. You know what I mean? Mike, I was gonna call him Michelangelo. I say, nah, let me not be super petty. All right. Shout out to Damon Williamson in the building. Shalom. Yaakov, shalom. Let's see what else we got up in here. John Williams, shalom. Ink Pen 27, shalom. Feed the Spirit, shalom. HaKodesh Management, Brother DB, shalom. Mr. Shemzi, shalom. Who else we got up in here? Get Wise, shalom. Marlo Eugene, shalom, shalom. Thrones of Gaming, shalom. Brother Mac, shalom. There are Yahoo Bendora, shalom. J Rod, shalom. CJ the Chosen 777, shalom. Brother Hassad, what's going on, King? Sons of Thunder, Israelites in the building. You already know they're in the building because you see the sky getting dark and clouds coalescing and you see the light flashing. Yeah, those are sons of Zebedee right there. Called out fire. We should have called out fire yesterday. We should have been like, you know, like Thor out in there, but he's like, nah, we're gonna let them live a little bit. We're gonna let him live a little. He just needs a little bit of content. You know, he gotta feed himself. He ain't got a family, he gotta feed himself. So he need a little bit of content because he ain't got nothing else going on for him. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Big Chief Prince Vision in the building. What's going on? Daniel Ben Kohani, shalom. J Showtime TV, shalom. Let's see what we go. Thank you so much, Smoke Reloaded, for the donation. Death to Dogma all day, every day, man. You know what it is. All praises, man. The Archer, shalom. Slow Flow Ben Yah, shalom. Brother Max, shalom. New Earth, shalom. The Brewlings Network, shalom. Boss in the building, shalom. Apothecary Custom, shalom. Ninja Cool, shalom. What else we got up in here, man? Hebrew Polymath, shalom. Karima Poet, thank you so much, sis. You know I check out your poems every time we release them. If you don't know who the sister is, go look her up on Facebook. Check out her poetry, man. And we're planning to have a slam session out here in Atlanta. So we're gonna have spoken word. We're gonna have painting artists. We're gonna have music artists. It's gonna be a social that we're gonna have out here in Atlanta. SOT, y'all invited, man. All right. And Hassad, if you're still in Atlanta, you invited too, brother. All right. Y'all come on out when we set that up this summer. We're gonna have a good old time. All right. And we're gonna invite Faithful to Hell. Faithful to Hell, he can come on too. We invite him. Nobody gonna put hands on him. Ain't nobody gonna touch him. You know what I'm saying? You just come out and have civil conversations. I think they scared of us, bro. They see these videos of Israelites doing training and everything like that, and how we can be aggressive on the street, and they scared. That's how you know they ain't never really been in no problems in real life. Like that aggression, like that's how men talk. Why are you afraid of that? Unless you got some femininity in you, and that scares that femininity in you. So why you don't show up? I can see if you was all loud like that, and you at every event, you on the street corners going back and forth, like we don't see you there. You're not there. You're not showing up. I don't know what's going on, bro. 617, let's get it. Shalom, Robbie Haywood going on. What's going on, brother? It's been a long time. I ain't see you, brother, in Boston right there, man. Shout out, man. Great 202. Thank you so much, Unknown L, for the donation. I appreciate that. Hey, yo, you know what's funny? What's my water at? I think I finished it. So good. You know what's funny? When we was in that room yesterday in the chat, I was like, yo, if you want to make him mad, just subscribe to the channel. And I put my channel up there. Like I said, we got like 40 plus people added to the channel. Yo, it's okay. Like, he's doing all of that. He's trying to discredit us, but he's making himself look bad. I'm like, yo, after 3 hours, he pulled up the scripture and said, all right, because the sister was pressing him about, like, why are you doing all of this? He brought up a scripture for the first time. I said, yo, how ironic is this? You finally brought up a scripture after 3 hours of begging Devon for his DNA information and telling him he's a liar. You then bring up scripture. The sister said, yo, if he's wrong and he doesn't admit it, let the Most High deal with it. That's what she said to him. Again, Hokmah speaking. Wisdom is speaking. And this idiot is going to talk over the sister, disrespect this. Then I turned up. Like, brother, you're not going to disrespect a sister in my presence. That's not going to happen. Now, I can't physically do nothing to you, but I'm going to overtalk you. I'm going to frustrate you. I'm going to do that. You're not about to do that. You're not about to do that because you wouldn't do that in person. So you're not going to do that on here. So now I had to turn up a little bit and started talking over him so the sister wouldn't get involved. That's crazy that he did that. I said, yo, you don't respect black women. You do this all the time with black women who are not Christians. If it's an Israelite woman that's black, He's going to overtalk, disrespect him. If it's a black Christian who's a woman, I never disrespect them. I don't do that. Because at the end of the day, I don't see Christianity. I see them as lost sheep. You the lost sheep. That's what I see. You lost sheep. I don't see you as a Christian. So I'm not going to turn up and disrespect the sisters like that. Only somebody that's full of estrogen, a man that's full of estrogen, is going to do something like that. Y'all see, I have sisters on here all the time, having conversations with them for hours. Never get heated, never get disrespectful, never say anything crazy. I had that sister on here that claimed she had a PhD. I don't know what that PhD was. She said she had a PhD in theology. Remember that sister? I forgot her name. She said she was a Christian apologist. She was on here with me for like 3 hours, going back and forth. She was saying the most egregious stuff. I didn't disrespect her. Why? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Yo, when we want to ask faithful, what's your DNA results? What's your DNA results? We think you got some European ancestry in you, brother. We think you got some of that colonizing spirit on you. So let's see your DNA results. Let's see your DNA results, brother. Ask faithful for his DNA results. Tell him nobody's going to furnish their DNA results. Let him do it first. You know why? Because you got to practice what you preach. You're going to say, I don't know nothing about DNA, but yet you don't even got your DNA results. Where's yours at? See, he's not going to furnish that because he knows the moment he does that, the jig is up. No Israelite going to listen to him after that. He didn't want to smoke with the information. He got to go with the DNA. And it's like, brother, show your DNA results. Yo, I asked him, what's your DNA results? Well, I don't know. I didn't do my DNA. And I laughed. I said, brother, the irony in that. Man, let's get back up. Shout out to Emilio in the building. Brother Max, shalom. I think that's everybody. Thank you so much, Unknown L, for the donation. I appreciate that. Hey, man. Hey, I'll do it for y'all. If I could do it for Faithful to himself, then I could do it for y'all, man. I mean, that dude, Faithful, that's a different breed of, I don't know what. He's definitely not a Christian. He's not a Christian. I heard Christian apologists for 6 years apologize for his conduct. 6 years apologizing for his conduct. And say, oh, but the information he shares is trash. It's garbage. If you'll go back and hear my interactions with him, he think he's smart. He think he bright. I never say I'm smart and bright. He's, oh, but you a teacher, Devon. I'm just a regular dude out here, man. I'm whatever y'all calls me to be. I don't need to big myself up to say I'm anybody. If y'all consider me a teacher, then that's an honor. But it's the Most High. I'm just a vessel in his hand. Wherever he want to pour into me to do is what I do. I don't need to say that I'm this and I'm that. I'm like, I could have been like, yo, bro, like you ain't even got a degree to be talking to me. I could have pulled that card, but what for? I said, brother, you ain't been to enough conferences to talk to me. You ain't in enough societies to talk to me, bro. I mean, you ain't put enough half the amount of work that I put in these streets for the community to even have a conversation with me. I could have pulled those cards on him. At any given time, I could have did that. But I said, you know what? Let's see if he burns out, because at the end of the day, I just want Israelites to walk away from this dude. Do not listen to nothing this colonizer is saying, bro. Nothing. He's not like us. He's not like us. And I was thinking earlier today, I said, yo, I'm going to make a whole diss track. I'm going to make a whole diss track about him. A whole diss track. Now you're going to bring the creativity out. So you got to always transmute that negative energy into positive. Because how do you counter an idea? Well, you do so with another idea. Right? And I learned that from watching, what's that movie? Inception. Great movie. Spiritual background. But you gotta duck these sinner vamps. From sinners to vamps, he's part of that vamp life. Hashtag vamp life. Hashtag show us the DNA. Hashtag colonizer. Hashtag not like us. I should go send hundreds of brews over to his channel and just have us hashtag all in the comments. All praise to the Most High. So let's go ahead and just flip this thing back around. Shout out to JB3. Thank you for the donation, brother. Is it okay to do boxing classes on the Sabbath or study, do a test? So when I talk about the Sabbath talks about do no servile civil work. Okay. If you're going to do something recreational on the Sabbath, it must be a minor to Yah's major, meaning that I will reserve it towards the tail end of the Sabbath. So we reserve the Sabbath from sunrise to sunset. So towards sunset, move all that recreational stuff towards sunset. But most of the day should be dedicated to Yah because that's his Sabbath that we're partaking in with him, right? He made that so we can rest with him. So I don't tell nobody you can't do any recreational things on a Shabbat. What I tell them is if it's something that is your usual flavor and it's something that's going to consume the bulk of your time where it can be considered work, and this is where halakha comes in, because it's Jewish halakha and it's the halakha that we derive here based on our shared experience from our ancestors who were Israelites in West and Central Africa. That's how we pull our halakha. And I would say, if you can avoid it, do so. If you can't avoid it, and it's something that is only available during that time, make sure it's scheduled somewhere towards the tail end of the Sabbath. The bulk of your Sabbath should be focused on Yah and resting. Resting. Now, I don't know about many of y'all, but I work 6 days a week. So I know from Sunday to Friday, like now, after I do this, I'm burnt out. So I'm grateful for the Shabbat. Right? So that's what I'm saying, right? So the key thing is not to buy or sell because we have that clear. Let's get into that real quick since you asked about it, brother. There's a scripture in Jeremiah I'm going to pull out, then I'm going to get one in Amos, and then I'm going to get another one in Isaiah. So let me pull the first scripture out, right? Here's the first scripture, right? This is one that all of us should know from the Sabbath. Good question, by the way. And I get asked that question every year. Right? I have no problem answering it. All right. So let's do the first scripture on the Shabbat. Lay the foundation for it. First should be Exodus 20, and we're going to get Exodus 31. So start first with Exodus 20. Let me share this for y'all real quick. I'm off my soapbox now. We're going to get into information now. All right. Those of you who left, you can come right back. All right. So let's pull it up real quick. Where is it at? I ain't tripping. Oh, right here. All right, got it. All right. Oh, it's right here. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into Exodus 20. All right, verse 8. Remember Zaqan. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it Kodesh. Keep it set apart. Zaqan means to put something at the forefront. That is the focal point. So when we get into this, let's take a look at it real quick. Right? We have this word Zaqan, which is Zaqor. Za. So we have our Zayin, we have our Chametz, we have our Chaf, we have our Hirik, we have our Cholam, and we have our Resh. Zaqor. Zaqor is here. This is in a verb that's in the cow stem, and it's in the infinitive absolute. So this is something that is ongoing, something that is an active thing that you are doing. And you're doing this specifically, it right here is a direct object marker, which means the nominative or subject is performing the action, which this is the action here, right? Is performed, the action is being formed directly on what? This day. So the remembering is the action that's being performed, all right? When it says remember, it should really just say he should remember or he remembers at the Sabbath day to what? To keep it set apart. That means this day, so it's not common, has to look different from every other day. Otherwise, you are doing it in vain, and you have hollowed out the Sabbath. You have removed the substance from out of the Sabbath if it looks like every other day. To keep it set apart, right? All right. It says 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Now, this is where you have tractates in the Talmud, more specifically the Mishnah, that deal with the Shabbat on what is considered malakah, what is considered work, right? Now, I don't use that template over here. We derive it much differently, but we see here, shetet, yamim, or yamim, ta'abod, or without the dagesh and debate, it's but fricative. Ta avod, which is you shall labor. Let's go back to the root word abed or abad. Abed means a slave. Abad means to work, one who works, right? 6 days you shall work and do kol melachteka, and do all your work. See that? The key thing is what is considered work, and that's what we have delineated in the Mishnah, right? But we don't use that as a template because, like I said, that was made for a specific group of people, and it does not pertain to us. All right, it's all based on the conditions and circumstances in the land that exiled Israel finds himself in. 6 days you shall labor and do your work. You shall slave and do your work. So when the brothers say, "Oh, I got to go to my slave, I got to go to my captivity, I got to go," technically that's what the work says, slave, right? And do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to Yah, your power. On it you shall not do any work. So the same work, all the work that you do, kal, or kal means all, inclusive of everything. All the work that you normally do, you shall not do any of that work. You or your son or your daughter, your male servant or your female servant or your livestock or the sojourner who is within your gates. When I have visitors on a Sabbath, I tell them no work is done. You cannot buy, you cannot sell, you cannot work, you cannot do any of that while you're in this house. Because that's what scripture says. Verse 11, for in 6 days Yah made heaven and earth, where he did all the work. There are no 6 days, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore, Yah blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Now, at this point, when this commandment is being given, there is no capital punishment to those who fail to keep this commandment. It's not given here. We follow this up in Exodus chapter 31. Go down to verse 12. It says, Yah said to Moshe, you are to speak to the people of Israel and say, above all you shall keep my Sabbaths, plural, for this is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I, Yah, sanctify you. So what are the signs? Well, one of many signs that sets us apart throughout our generations, that Yah sets us apart. Yah is the one who empowers us, who cleanses us, who is the Sabbath. That Sabbath is not restricted to the land. Wherever you at, you shall keep the Sabbath because it is set apart for you. Everyone who profanes it. What do you mean profane it? How do you profane the Sabbath? And I went over this earlier. It's hollowing it out, making it empty, making it vain, making it of no effect. Let me get into it and show you. The word is kalal. Kalal means to defile, pollute, desecrate, wound, bore, pierce, dissolve, break, play. Look at this. Men began, defile, break, defile, eat as common things, to bore, to hollow something out, make it of no effect. If I get a block of gold and I hollow the gold out, I have depreciated the value of the gold. I have removed the bulk of its substance so it loses value. We cannot do that when it comes to the Most High Sabbath. Now he attaches a death penalty to that. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day shall be put to death. Therefore, the people of Israel, and this is why if Gentiles don't want to keep it, that's fine, unless they're proselyte or whatever, or clinging unto Israel. Therefore, the people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath throughout the generations as a covenant, sometimes on the weekends, in the evenings, forever. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. Forever. It does not stop. Even in the end times. Yeshua says, pray that your flight not be on the Sabbath. Well, what you saying? In the future, the Sabbath is going to be here. The Sabbath ain't going nowhere. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel that in 6 days Yah made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Now, we jump away from that. Amos chapter 8, verse 4, hear this, you who trample on the needy and bring the poor of the land to an end, saying, when will the new moon be over that we may sell grain, and the Sabbath that we may offer wheat for sale, that we may make the ephah small and the shekel great, and deal deceitfully with false balances, that we may buy the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of the wheat. A lot of analogies there, right? Some figurative language in there. But the point that we focus in here is in the Sabbath that we may offer wheat for sale. So the wicked wants the Sabbath to be over so they can offer wheat for sale, so they can start selling things. Okay? This is your Sabbath 101s. All right? You get another one. Okay? This is Jeremiah chapter 17. Oh, wait, I didn't put it on here. Jeremiah chapter 17. We're going to go down to verse 19. Thus says Yah to me, go and stand in the people's gate, by which the kings of Judah enter, and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem, and say, hear the word of Yah, you kings of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem who enter by these gates. Thus saith Yah, take care for the sake of your lives, and do not bear a burden on the Sabbath day, or bring it in the gates of Jerusalem. So what does this mean in the Iron Age period, in the ancient Near East? To bear a burden, that means to bring a load. Typically, you put it on a pack animal, and it's typically items that you wish to sell. Okay. And verse 22, and do not carry a burden out of your houses. That means work out of your houses, stuff that you have to carry, big loads, because it's going to require a lot of work out of your houses on the Sabbath, or do any work, but keep the Sabbath day set apart as I commanded your fathers. Yet they did not listen or incline their ear, but stiffen their neck, that they might not hear and receive instruction. But if you listen to me, declares Yah, and bring in no burden by the gates of this city. Now here, a burden by the gates of the city is anything that is a quote-unquote load that require work to move. Okay. It says, but keep the Sabbath day set apart and do no work on it. Then there shall enter by the gates of this city kings and princes who sit on the throne of David, riding in chariots or on horses, they and their officials, the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And this city shall be inhabited forever. Verse 27, but if you do not listen to me to keep the Sabbath day set apart, and not to bear a burden to enter by the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle a fire in its gates, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and shall not be quenched. Let's get in verse 27. Take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to sing a lot of word. Are able to follow. The word masah can be a burden. Now, also, it says what? Oracle prophecy. What do you mean oracle prophecy? Because whenever a prophet, I'll give you an example, Isaiah chapter 14, Ezekiel chapter 28, these are lamentations that an oracle of Yah had to bring, a prophecy, that was against foreign kings and nations. And then also the prophets brought them against the kings of Judah and the kings of Israel and the people of Judah and people of Israel, because that was a load, that was a burden, that was a heavy weight that the prophet had to shift onto the people, shift onto the kings, right? So having that prophecy, being an oracle, having that word from Yah that may get spoken that is not favorable, because the purpose of it is to show you a past, present, or future thing with the intent that you're going to repent or tuv or teshuv or turn away from the thing that can potentially happen to you so you can do what's right. But because the people themselves are laden down with sins, the oracle, the prophecy, becomes another weight onto them to bear, and they lash out against it. So depending on where we see it, it can refer to a physical load or it could be a figurative load. But whatever those loads or those burdens are, we should not carry them on the Shabbat. That means whatever it is that's weighing us down, we need to unburden ourselves of those things, whether it's physical work that requires effort or something spiritually, mentally, that is weighing you down on the Sabbath so you cannot focus on Yah. So therefore, if the recreational activity is a burden, is a load onto you, you should not do it, and or shift it towards the tail end of the Shabbat. Give Yah his day. Shift that towards the tail end of the Shabbat. That doesn't mean you can't have recreation on the Shabbat, but it must be light recreation, and the amount of time that's spent towards it should be minute compared to what you've devoted to Yah. And it should be nothing that's going to be burdensome, nothing that's going to be laborious, and nothing that relates to any servile or civil duties that you have obligations to fulfill that then will render you payment for your service and your time. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So again, do not hollow out the Sabbath by making it common like every other day of the week. All right. So I just want to share some of that information for y'all, because there's some people out there that may not know the one-on-ones in regards to the Shabbat. So we went into 2 scriptures in Exodus, 1 in Amos, 1 in Jeremiah. Okay. So let's keep going. All right. Let's keep going. Let me bring another one up. All right. So let's do Isaiah 56. Let's go to Isaiah. So not 56. It says, "Thus saith Yah, keep justice and do righteousness, for soon my salvation will come and my righteousness be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the son of man who holds it fast, who keeps the Sabbath, not making it common, not hollowing out, not making it of no value, and keeps his hand from doing any evil." So some brothers will be like, "Oh, well, you know what? I ain't buying and selling. I ain't working." But yet you're talking with contempt towards people. Yet you're stealing from your brother, your sister. Yet you sleep with another brother's wife. Yet you're fornicating with virgins out there, virgins of Israel. Yet you're lying to the Most High and to yourself and to your family. Yet you're plotting to do harm to somebody after the Sabbath is over. Yet your entire mind is about, "Wow, I can't wait till the Sabbath to be over so I can do this and I can do that." If you're doing evil, then you are profaning the Sabbath. It doesn't matter if you're working or not. Because I read to you in Amos that people got so depraved, they was like, "No, just wait." They was keeping the Sabbath, but it was the mindset in which they kept the Sabbath. So the question is, on the Sabbath, how are you keeping it? How are you guarding the Sabbath? How are you protecting it? This is Yah's territory that he has opened the gate to allow you to share in with him. But a lot of y'all keeping the door open for anything and anyone to come on in there. You must guard and protect the Shabbat. And it is a sign forever. No ceasing. Okay. All right. I would love to have a build on the subject live. Okay. Here's the link. There you go. All right. So let's see. Let me see any other shout outs. So shout out to Apostle Zaqan. I see you in there. David Cotton, shalom. Ahuv, shalom. You did? I gotta go check it, brother. I didn't know. I was waiting to hear back from you. I want to make sure you good. Make sure you're right, my brother. Yes, that's correct. Yes, sir. Shout out to Brandon Blackwell in the building. The souls of our ancestors. Shalom, sis. What's going on? Kwaku RBG in the building. What's going on, brother? What's going on? The mighty captain right there in the building is pulled up. All right. So this is Apostle Zaqan. Apostle, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, brother?
You taking a break from Sarnetta? What's going on, man?
Yeah, that's my go-to. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm taking a break.
How you been today, man?
Things are good, man. On this Holy Preparation Day, things are real great, man, for me, health-wise. As a 70-year-old, soon to be, come the end of this month.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
I look forward to living to be that long, man.
I did not expect it, but
well, 70 is the average age for black men in America. So that's between the ages younger than 70 and older than 70, our mean age is 70. That's our life expectancy. Right. So, Elder, the Most High has brought you to that point to be a testament that if our young black men can turn to him and his ways, they could be graced to see 70 years old. You know what I'm saying? So,
believe me, all my friends of my youth are gone.
Wow.
Every single one. So,
wow.
And that's not. It's always with me. Just thinking about that.
Yeah, I understand. Yep.
The days of my youth. I would love to do some things different.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have an opportunity. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Elder.
No, I was saying, but we don't get do-overs. Maybe there's a question about whether or not what's the word I want to use? Reincarnation is in scriptures. When you talk about Elijah and John the Baptist, whether that's rejuvenation or reincarnation, or the Most High was just getting into the spirit aspect of the two lives, how he would work in their lives. I believe for a long time, I thought that it was saying that John the Baptist would operate in the same spirit as Elijah. Lately, I've been looking into the fact how One West teach reincarnation. No problems with rejuvenation. I know that's an aspect of our lives, and I look forward to rejuvenation. Just don't know about reincarnation. I'm still studying that.
I agree. What I tell brothers and sisters is that is comes from what's called Jewish mysticism, and Jewish mysticism succeeds Sufism, which is Islamic mysticism, and Gnosticism, which is a part of Christian mysticism. So when you read the Gate of the Souls, and if you want the source, I'll send it over to you. That is where the concept that was orally became embodied in a text that speaks about reincarnation, right? So I'll share that source. Matter of fact, since we're already here, I'm going to put it on the screen, share the link in the chat for anybody else interested in looking into that to see what the source of that is. Because I did a post about that, right? Informing people where that comes from. So it's the Gate of Souls. So
yeah, I would love to look into that. As well as other. Let's get to the subject more so on hand.
Got it? Mm-hmm.
When I heard you say that the Sabbath begins at sunrise and ends at sunset, I was like, wow, did he say that? Because I don't hear Israel talk like that. They make a big issue about the 24-hour period rather than the 12-hour period that Christ talked about. And I think for the most part, it's because we still believe that Christ was taken off the cross or had to be taken off the cross because the sunset was because of the regular Sabbath, 7-day Sabbath, opposed to the Shabbat Sabbath. I believe that he had to come off the cross because Shabbat was, matter of fact, I believe that took place on a Wednesday more so than on a Friday, midweek, than the end of the week, like the Roman Catholics got it. You can't get 3 days and 3 nights out of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there's a scripture in Genesis where it says, and that evening and that morning were the first day. Then in Isaiah, it says that God sees from the end of the matter to the beginning. So he don't see like we see. We see from the beginning to the end. God already knows the end from the beginning. He's seen it all. So in that fact that they call it a Sabbath day, and the daytime is, as Christ said, 12 hours. Then after day, we have the watch. The first watch starts at 6, second watch at 9, third watch at 12, fourth watch at 2 or 3 in the morning. And then that goes into 6 o'clock where the new day starts. That's the way I see it. I know nobody else, well, I ain't gonna say nobody else. I haven't heard anybody else break it down that way. I believe a lot of that has to do with Friday crucifixion, getting it confused, him having to be taken off the cross because of the Sabbath. Like I say, I believe that was Pesach.
Yep. So I agree that week was that, and that's why he had to take it off. Let me just clarify for you so you understand why I said the Sabbath rest is from sunrise to sunset. So in Hebrew, as we know, there are 7 days of the week, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. And the 7th day is called the Sabbath because the period of rest is on that day.
Carolyn, notification.
Oh. she be doing that to me too. That was Alexa? Yeah, she be tripping for me as well.
Yeah, my wife just brought my dinner and there was a notification and she didn't realize.
I see.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So the 7 days, we say colloquially, in modern terms, that is 24 hours for each day, right? So we have 1 day, 2 day, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7th day is called the Sabbath day, as we know in the scriptures, right? Where I just went over. And that is also a 24-hour period, right? However, there is a period of rest on the 7th 24-hour cycle that you do no work. Traditionally, we're told that is when sunset comes in on Friday and sunset comes in on Saturday. However, when the Sabbath was first instituted in Exodus chapter 16, we see that that's not the case, because the Sabbath is tied to the gathering of manna, where work should not be done. Now, in the evening, they had quail, and they were allowed to eat the quail. Nothing about no work, don't get no quail, but they were allowed to get quail 7 days of the week. But the seventh day, on the day portion, they were told to cease from collecting the manna. Let's get that real quick. This is Exodus chapter 16. Yep.
I believe they got a double portion.
Yep, that's right. So let's go to Exodus chapter 16. All right, let me pull this up real quick. I normally use this to kind of show, and then there's a word called Shabbaton in the Hebrew, the on. Anytime you hear the on as a suffix, it's a diminutive, which means a smaller, endearing part of something. So that means instead of it being a large Sabbath, it is a small part within the Sabbath in which rest is done, right?
I used to call it the Sabbath one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There you go. At 1 minute, atonement at 1 minute, and the guy, he said, "What do you mean Sabbath one?" I said, "Well, he said Sabbath tone." I said, "Yeah, Sabbath tone." Yeah.
Yep. So here on Exodus 16, right, and this is where we get it from. So the first thing is in Exodus chapter 16, and starting at verse, I'll do 4. Then Yah said to Moses, "Behold, I'm about to rain bread from heaven for you." And this is because the people were complaining previously. And the people shall go out and gather a day's portion. That's the first thing. Rain bread, a day's portion. Okay. So the bread raining is during the day. Every day, that I may test them that they will walk in my law or not. Verse 5, on the 6th day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gathered daily. So the key thing is, when he rains bread, they gather a day's portion. And on the 6th day, when they bring in what they go to gather, it will be twice as much on the 6th day. Now, this is Exodus chapter 16 and verse 5, right? And I do this for people who probably is not too familiar with the Hebrew, so we get into it a little bit here. And it says that they should bring twice in over as much as they gather, yom, day by day, right? So day by day. So does yom mean whole 24-hour period, or does it just mean during the day portion? Well, we're going to see that because we got to understand, when did the bread rain? Once we figure out whenever that is when they're to go do work to gather the bread. And that is when they're told to rest on that 7th day and not to what? Gather the bread. Nothing about the quail. And we're going to get into the quail because, it's still complaining, right? So then it goes here and it says, so Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel at evening. So we know we're not talking about the day portion, right? But it says at evening, you shall know that it is Yah who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning. So what is the evening and morning? So the evening and morning represents a what we call a twilight period. So you have 3 phases of twilight, right? So you have nautical twilight, you have astronomical twilight, and you have civil twilight. So I'm going to say it in order. Civil twilight, nautical twilight, and astronomical twilight. So civil twilight means you can empirically perceive that it's getting darker outside, but it's not too dark.
It's not dark yet.
Yeah, your parents would say, hey, go outside and play, but it's starting to get dark. And they say, hey, look, it's starting to get dark. You ain't got that much time left. You know what I'm saying? But you can still see, you can still get work done. You still have enough light to still do stuff, even though it's getting dark, meaning that the sun has passed over you and it's going down into the horizon, right? Then you have nautical twilight. Now, the reason why it's called nautical as opposed to civil just means to do civil duties and stuff you can see, work outside. Nautical is because this is the time of twilight where it's much darker, but not fully black, that sailors on ships look towards the sky and they can see the stars the brightest, and they use it for navigation. Now, when it becomes nautical twilight, at that point, it's kind of really dark. you can barely see, right?
Right.
So during that time, your mom said, hey, it's time to come on in, time to eat supper, whatever the case may be, you know?
Right.
And then you have
Agreed.
astronomical twilight, and that's the part where it's almost fully dark. You can't literally see anything, but it's not permanent darkness for like the next 10, 12 hours or whatever, right? But
Right.
it got to the point where it's so dark, no work can be done. And typically during that small phase of period where the sailors use the stars, they transition to a period of time where it's much darker, where there's no ambient light from the sun, where they can still chart the stars, but because there's no ambient light from the sun and only small amount of light from the moon, they're not as potent in guiding them, the stars, right? So they know to set course once it's nautical twilight, and then they stay on that course as it goes into astronomical twilight. So during those periods of time, we either have the day transition into night or night transition into the day. So that's where you get your erev, which means evening, and your boker, which means morning. So it says this, right? And in the morning you shall see the glory of Yah, because he has heard your grumbling against him. For what are we that you grumble against him? And Moses said, watch this, verse 8. And Moses said, when Yah gives you in the evening, what? Meat to eat. So they're not eating bread in the evening.
Right.
In the evening,
Right.
you're eating meat. And in the morning, what? Bread to the full, because Yah has heard your grumbling, that you grumble against him. What are we? Your grumbling is not against us, but against Yah. Now let's see what he's talking about. Meat. What do you mean meat? Where is this coming from? Verse 9. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, come near before Yah, for he has heard your grumbling. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 12. And he says, Moses says, I have heard the grumbling. This is what Yah says to Moses, excuse me. I've heard the grumbling of the people of Israel. Say to them, at twilight, again, that break from light to day, light to dark or day to night, at twilight you shall eat meat. Now, twilight here represents daytime transitioning to nighttime. You shall eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you shall know that I am Yah, your power. So now when you see the meat at night and the bread by day, you know that it is me who is giving you these provisions. Now, what is this meat? Verse 13. In the evening, quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning, dew lay around the camp. So in the evening, quail came up. Why did the quail come up? It's because where they was at in the Sinai is a flyway path for quail.
Right.
Quail typically drifters onto the day winds, and then at night they rest. So where they rested at was where they had camp at. But in the morning when they woke up, when that night is breaking into day, so like from day to night, you get civil, nautical, astronomical. But from night to day, you have astronomical, you have nautical, and then you have civil. Now they wake up, and now bread is coming from heaven, right? So it says in verse 14, and when the dew had come up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as the frost on the ground. Some say this is coriander, some say this is other stuff. And verse 15 says, when the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? And that's where you get manna from, right? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, it is the bread that Yah has commanded you to eat. Watch this, verse 16. This is what Yah has commanded. Gather of it, each one of you, as much as he can eat. This has nothing to do with equality, all about equity. You shall take an omer, which is a measurement, according to the people and the number of the persons that each of you has in his tent. So Yah does not deal with equality. I know people hate me saying that. And I'm like, no, you got to think about it. Equality is not practical. And the reason for that is because, Elder, if you had 3 people in your household and I had 7 people in my household, and the government was saying, look, we only give rations of food out because right now there's a military lockdown. Let's say it's COVID, right? We want to make sure we treat everybody equally. So you know what? We're going to give you 3 portions of food for your 3 people in your household, and you're going to get 3 too, because we're going to be equal, right? Y'all don't deal that way. He deals with equity. Equity is how many people do you have in your household that needs food? That's where the portion is going to go towards. So as many people as you have is as many people who's going to eat. So Yah deals with equity. Same thing with the genders. Women think they could be like men. Men think they could be like women. Y'all don't deal with equality. What the hell is equality? Equality is not fair because we are physiologically and physically designed differently. So there's no way we don't equally. Go ahead, Elder. You got it.
And when it comes to nations, when it comes to the nation of Israel, it's the same thing. So, and it's not evil. It's not corrupt that God chose Israel. And we are not prideful because of that. But it comes with great responsibility. But let me say, the manna on days other than the Sabbath, that manna could not stay fresh overnight. It was spoiled.
And we about to get into that. You got it, Elder. We about to get into that.
It was spoiled. The only
by the time. That's
right,
it. Yes.
Right. It was spoiled. The only time it could last was on that preparation day when they gathered twice as much. Any other time, because to keep them from being greedy, they couldn't gather twice as much. They wouldn't be able to eat it before it's spoiled. So let's get into that.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you, Elder. All right. So he already gave us a synopsis about what else we're about to continue into, right? So it says here, this is what Yah has commanded. Gather of it, each of you, as much as he can eat. So some people may need more to fill them than others. So whatever I put before you, you eat what you can. Now, somebody next to you may be a little hungrier than you, right? Some people may also have diseases or conditions that may prevent them from eating as much, right? Or eating as little, right? So as much as you can eat it, right? You shall take an omer, according to the number of persons that each of you has in his tent. Verse 17, and the people of Israel did so. They gathered some more, some less. Again, this is all based on the equitable needs of the people. But when they measured it with an omer, whoever gathered much had nothing left over. Whoever had gathered little had no lack. That means when you got the amount that you need for the persons in your household based on what you can eat, you never had a lack. And those who didn't have never had more. You only had enough that was sufficient. That's why when the text says, only in the Proverbs, only give me bread that is suffice for me. He says, I don't want to be rich, yeah. I don't want to be poor. But only give me bread that is suffice. That concept right there deals with you stabilizing and prioritizing what your needs are and what can sustain you. A lot of people out there, they want to be rich. Some people out there don't want to be poor, but they want to be rich, right? But Yah says only get the bread that suffices you. And the reason for that is because when you have what can sustain you, this is walking in Yah's plan. Because his purpose is for you to only get what you need. You don't need no more than that. That's it. Whatever you can eat, whatever you can consume in a day, whatever you can work and make at that time, that is suffice, and that's it. There's no need to do more. That the text says, don't be over righteous, right? So let's keep going, right? And the text says in verse 18, but when they measured it with an omer, whoever gathered much had nothing left over. Whoever gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as they could eat. Verse 19, and Moses said to them, let no one leave. This is what you said, Elder. Let no one leave any of it over till the morning. Well, why not? But they did not listen to Moses. Some left part of it till the morning. So what that means is that you are being ungrateful. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. There's this, and this is interesting, right? This is a quick segue. There's this guy on YouTube, right? This white guy on YouTube. And he used to be a Catholic missionary. And he was sent to the Amazon to speak to the Ivre people, right? In the Amazon, right? And the Piraha people, I think it's the Piraha people, Ivre people. And it was a native tribe that was in the Amazon. And when he went there, he was told as a Catholic evangelist, find some way to convert them into a proselyte, to be a Catholic, right? So he goes to this community who, again, they are not tainted by capitalism. Okay. He goes and he looks at these people and he sees that they're living sufficiently, not above their means, anything. When he's talking to them, he says, well, I see that none of you here storing food, because naturally in their environment, it's bountiful. Why? Because they have a small carbon footprint within the ecology of their environment. What do you mean by that, Divine? That means they're not over consuming unnecessarily. That means if there are animals in there that they normally hunt, whether it's fish or game, they only get the amount that they need for the day.
Right.
So when he asked them, he saw, because again, coming from capitalism, we're taught, oh, I gotta work a lot, I gotta make a lot of money, I gotta put it in the bank, or I gotta buy things, all this other stuff. This is what we're taught in capitalism. They don't have that there. So he was perplexed by this. And he says, well, but where do you store the extra food? They say, in the stomach of my hungry brother next to me, and the stomach of that elder who can no longer get for himself. That's where we store our food at. Because they've learned to live in sync with their environment and not overconsume. And when he witnessed this, he said, there's nothing we can give them. What can you give them from a Catholic perspective of religion that's going to override the fact that they live in harmony with their environment and with one another? Well, these principles is nothing foreign to Scripture. Scripture is saying the same thing. If you believe God is going to provide for you, this is why Yahushua said, only worry about today. Tomorrow has its own concerns. Does that mean that we are not to use wisdom? Does that mean we don't plan? No. It means you don't be overconsumed about what you're going to do that day. You allow it to happen according to Yah's will. If you live according to your purpose and don't overconsume beyond your needs, then Yah will make sure your needs are met each and every day. And if you minimize your footprint where you're the least disastrous to those around you and the environment around you, then Yah will continue to allow these things to serve you day in and day out.
Yeah.
Right? So
don't be over anxious for nothing.
That's it. Don't be over anxious for anything.
Right.
That's Scripture. Thank you, Elder. All right, so we're going to walk up. So you want to say something?
No,
okay.
Go ahead.
So it says in verse 20, but they did not listen to Moses. Some left part of it till the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. Morning by morning, they gathered it. So the morning indicates when the night is transitioning to the day. Each as much as he could eat. Watch this. What's that next one say, Elder? I don't know if you can see it.
What verse you have?
Right here.
Morning by morning, they gathered it.
3:21.
Yeah. Morning by morning, they gathered it each as much as he could eat. But when the sun grew hot, it melted. Yeah.
So people miss that part. The text says, when the sun grew hot. Now, we're going to get a little bit into astronomy, right?
Right.
So, and this is something that we all can detect empirically. So when we go outside, let's say right now it's the springtime, right? In temperate zones, it's springtime. The sun rises at a certain time and the sun sets at a certain time, right? However, you have what's called the noon time or the peak of the day. That's when the sun is its highest apex.
Right.
And it is burning down, right? Yes. Yeah. That period, depending on where you're at in the world, can be anywhere from 11, 12 to about 2 or 3 p.m. And then the sun starts to decline where it's not as intense.
The mule will let you know.
Yes.
The horse won't.
That's it.
That mule,
I see you've been out in the field.
That mule will let you know. That mule be heading for the barn. He knows.
You know what time it is,
Work
right?
is done.
So I don't put no more load on me, right? So from morning, daybreak, until when the sun waxes the hottest, during that period of time is when they go gather. Because after the sun waxes the hottest, and again, this will depend on the time of year. So when I tell people that Israel used a relative dating system and not an absolute dating system, you're going to say, Divine, what does all of this mean? Relative dating system is this. If I want to know when it's morning time, the sun will tell me.
Right. I
don't have to say, oh, is it 6 o'clock? Is it morning time? Is it 3 o'clock? Is it morning time? When the sun comes up, it's morning time. When that cock crows, It's morning time. When the birds are singing, it's what nature, the way Yah intended it, like we see in Psalm 19, the wonders of Yah. The earth will tell you it's morning time. You don't need a clock. You don't need a calendar. You don't need this. You don't need that. When you have a clock calendar, these are all what's called absolute.
I got roosters right next door.
That's it.
Yeah, they let you know when the morning comes. Yeah.
I got blue jays and red jays that come and sing outside my window, etc. Right? So that could be any time of the day. That could be at 6:45. That could be at 7:45. So the day starts when that sun cracks out in the sky and we hear nature telling us, wake up, right?
Yeah.
You don't need a watch or clock to do that. And then when the sun gets the hottest, when we see the peak in the sky, if you want to know how can I tell that the sun is in its peak apex in the sky? Well, what you do is you get a stick, what's called a gnome, right? A gnome stick. You stick it in the ground. You make markers in the ground so that the sun, as it's rising, can cast a shadow. When that sun gets directly overhead, there's no shadow.
Right.
When there's no shadow, you know, oh, the sun is at its peak. Right. So during this time, it got so hot, it melted the manna that was there in the earth.
Right.
So when it happened, they had to gather it before it melted, right? However, when the sun waxes the hottest until sunset, it's still daytime. So what do they typically do? Well, after you gather what you gather, you have to process it. Right. So they use the rest of that time to process what they gathered in. So verse 22 says, on the sixth day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers each. And when all the leaders of the congregation came and told Moses, he said to them, this is what Yah has commanded. Tomorrow is a day of solemn rest. I'm going to get into that 1 second. But before I get into that, we know that during the day, that's when the manna was gathered. They were not told, hey, in the evening, I want you to gather as much quail, as much meat.
Right.
Nothing about gathering double in the evening, only during the day. Right. That is crucial. So watch this. And he said to them, this is what Yah has commanded. Tomorrow, that's an interesting word there. What do you mean tomorrow? Let's get into tomorrow. Weyomer alchem hu asher deber Yahweh Shabbaton. This is the word right here. This on here, this cholam, final noon, this is what's called a diminutive. This root is Shabbat. This is your shin, beit, tav.
Yeah, right.
Shabbat, and your on is your diminutive, which means it's a smaller, endearing form. So it's like mamacita, right? When somebody says mamacita, that's a little mama, right? It's a smaller, endearing form of an adult person, but it's a little girl that acts like a mom, right? So this Shabbaton, Shabbat. So they translate it as Sabbath rest. It should be small rest on the Sabbath. So he says to them, the small rest period on the Sabbath is Kodesh La Yahweh or La Yahweh, right? However you want to say. Right. But this word mahar here, mahar, this always refers to the day portion where light is out of a 24-hour period. It's always referring to that. So when you go look this up, 4279, those of you Strongs, you can look it up and see it's always referring to the day portion where civil duties are done, because in ancient times, they didn't have a lot of artificial light like us. They had small lamps and so forth. Right. But outside today, we got street lamps, right? We could go to a mall and has all these lights and so forth out. We have a lot of artificial lights and electricity. They didn't have
that. For a second, Divine.
No problem, Elder.
For 1 second.
Yep, you got it.
Open to knowledge. What's up, brother?
That's facts, Kwaku. That's all artificial, brother. And that's so true. That's so true. John, what's this that you shared, John? Shalom to you, love Yah. Shalom. Kazakh Magan. Shalom. Ak. What's going on? Hosea Humble. Shalom. What's going on? Let's see. Anybody new that I missed? Nilante. Shalom. All right. So while I have this break with the elder, what I want to say, because it's not the Sabbath yet, if anybody, because I had people ask me about this, anybody's interested in getting one of these, right? What is this? This is a replication of the silver scrolls that was found in Ketef Hinnon, right? And what was this? This is one of the earliest writings that we have. Hold on, let me do this. I'm gonna put Elder down for a second until he's finished. This is one of the earliest. This is a replica of one of the earliest writings we have on papyri in regards to the book of Numbers of Bad Midbar. And this was rolled up and put in a little amulet and worn on the wrist. And the purpose of it was to dispel evil spirits, evil energy from encroaching upon the wearer, because the wearer is surrounded by the blessings, the Baruch of Yah, the blessings of Yah. So I carry one of these on my keychain. Sometimes you may have seen me wear the necklace too. If y'all are interested in getting one of these, let me know. I'm gonna say something real quick. My brother Stacks is on here. But I had a conversation with him, and conversation very similar to other ones that I've had, where I had brothers and sisters who are being encroached with other religious systems. And I said, look, if you choose to identify with the Israelite way of things, you have your own divination system. You have your own talisman. You have your own cleromancy. You have everything you need that's encapsulated within the Israelite culture. You don't have to go outside of that to get anything, right? If you don't choose this way, then whatever culture you choose, you should use the tools that they provide that you may need day to day. If we need a talisman, if we need to wear something that we know can give us confidence that we have Yah's blessing on us and that will dispel any evil energy or evil spirits and so forth, our ancestors wore this. This is a talisman. This is the Numbers chapter 6, verse 23 to 27. And this is what they wore. They had Yah's blessing with them. So we know about mezuzahs. Some of us may have mezuzahs, but on your person, historically, this is what those ancestors had on them. So if you want one of these, the link is in the chat. You can click on the link in the chat. You can purchase one of these if you're interested. I think we sold maybe over 100 plus of them. So there's a lot of you out there over maybe the past couple of years that have purchased this. But for those of you who asked me about these, we haven't had these maybe in 6 months. But I got a new batch. So if you're interested in it, let me know. All right. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there before nightfall hits, before it's the Shabbat. All right. So yeah, the link is in the chat if you want to get your own before the Shabbat, or if you want to wait till after the Shabbat. Be sure to purchase one of those. Is one way you can support the channel. Also, the Patreon. Sign up for the Patreon, www.patreon.com/Divine Prospect. Almost everything that I talk about, I either have an academic blog on there, a video on there, an article on there, a book on there. Something's on there. We have language courses. If you want to learn Ugaritic, if you want to learn Aramaic, if you want to learn Arabic, if you want to learn Hebrew, if you want to learn Greek, we have all those courses on there. We have an audio Bible with nothing but Black actors and actresses from the Experienced Bible. So if you want to hear a cinematic Bible with people that look and sound like us, we have that audio on there as well. We have links for all exclusive websites that are paid for that we share, so you can get access to information. We also have Bible study applications on it as well, like Logos and Accordance that you can get on there. We have a wealth and a repository of information, of resources and tools on Patreon. The first post that's pinned on Patreon outlines for you the list of resources that we have. We have more than this there, but I point you to the major resources. So a lot of stuff that we talk about is well vetted, well researched, and even our course that we have for sale on there, you can get that as well. Those of you who were not part of the classes that we had last year. But if you want to know the 7-point method of being able to discern anything in scripture, we have it broken down for you. So you can go into the shop section. When you go to Patreon, click on shops, and you'll see we have the intro class to a KHM, holistic research paradigm for Bible study. And in that intro class, we break down what those 7 points are And any scripture you come across, you can use that methodology to discern what it is that you're reading. All right. It's in there. And if you want to purchase it and support the Patreon, you can. We also have the albums for both Asaph the Psalmist as well as Miriam Levy. That's in there as well. So if you want access to those, we also have links in the description for those as well. So these are different ways you can support the ministry. And if there's anything that we can do to support you and your personal endeavors with Yah, or anything that's concerning you, anything that's going on, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. All right, that was my commercial break. Let's get back to the regularly scheduled program and bring Elder back. You back, Elder?
Hey, if you can, put me on a big screen, man. Let me share this with you, something that I just got. Just got it. Very important. Let me see.
This looks like something on, it says Shutterstock. It says Hebrew English Transliterated Bible, CD-ROM. Oh, ancient includes Torah, prophets, and writing. Hebrew, Dead Sea Scrolls, word pictures, letter style. Reach a 95% proficiency in reading Hebrew words in 1 hour. Wow.
Right. In the back, it's the closest I can get to the complete Old Testament in the ancient Abaya. Writing. I don't know if you can see that, how the scripture appears, but
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
I just ordered my CD. I thought my computer had a CD-ROM, but it doesn't, so I had to order it.
Yeah, that's throwback.
I can't wait to get into that, man.
Yeah, well, you know, do you have, how many of those do you have?
This is the only copy I have.
Okay, I was going to say that if you have more than one copy, I can turn that into an MP3 for you, and you can put it, you can play it anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe, Elder, my email address is going across the screen. So if you can email me the details for that, I'll buy one, and then I'll turn it into an MP3, and I'll just send it to you.
Okay. Let me see. You know, which one was that? The hold on for 1 second. I can give it to you. Maybe I can figure out a way. And it's not the Sifa. Let me see if it's here. Yeah, it's the Brit Kadash. Hakadash. Excuse me. The Brit Hakadash site. And at the bottom of the page, well, what you do, you hit the glossary on the side. Let me try and get this information to you in your email.
Okay.
And you can pull this up. It's only $59 for the CD and all the information that came with it.
Yeah, so if you can just send it over to me, like I said, I'll turn it into an audio file and I'll just send it to you. You can play it anywhere.
Okay, will do.
Let me get
that to you.
All right. So, and Hosea, I put the link in the chat for you, and also the Patreon is also coming across the screen if you don't want to sign up for it as well. It's there. So, so when I went into here to say that Mahar is always talking about the next day during the daylight portion of the 24-hour day. And the Shabbaton is the period of rest that occurs on the 7th day. So this is all talking about Mahar. It's talking about the day portion of the next day. And the Shabbaton is the small rest period within the 7th day period. So 7th day at 24 hours, there's a period of rest, which is sunrise to sunset, because that's when they wake up to gather the manna. When the sun waxes the hottest, they stop from going out to gather it and they process it. And then in the evening, this is when the quail is gathered and they eat the quail. So if all of this is pointing to the day portion, and again, this is referring to what they're gathering, not the meat, but the bread. This all points to us to know that this is when the Sabbath begins. So let me get back into this right here, right? And it says, bake what you will bake and boil what you will boil, and all that remains lay up for yourselves to be kept until the morning. So they can bake and boil in the evening. They can eat and enjoy themselves up until the morning time. But when the morning hit, guess what? You can't keep none of that bread.
No.
So you can eat it, but when the morning hit, that bread is done. Because if it's the Sabbath day, you should have had enough of it to fill yourself double.
Right. Exactly.
And again, there's no limitations on the meat. Nothing about you can't collect no quail on that seventh day, right? So this is how we know with the word Shabbaton, with the word mahar, which means tomorrow, day portion. When he says the morning to morning, when there's light, is when you go gather this bread and you do it until the sun waxes the hottest. And until the evening, they're boiling and they're making. But when that sun hits, you stop any work, whether it's work that has been done outside or work that's relegated indoors, which typically is preparation and feasting until the next day comes up, which would be the seventh day. So this is why when I have contentions with Orthodox Jews, right? And conservative Jews too, because I have on this channel, I have a Clubhouse session with the conservative Jew, and he was having this conversation with me, and I said to him, I said, look, you know, a lot of things that you maintain comes from minchag, which means custom. It's a custom that you guys developed over time, a tradition, but it has no grounding in the written Torah. Now, they'll say bepeh, which means by mouth. That's the oral Torah that they follow, which is the Mishnah that's contained in the Talmud, right? Talmud also has the Gemara. Correct. So I say to them, I said, look, but in the written Torah, we are commanded to keep the Sabbath rest on the seventh day. That's called the Sabbath. So the seventh day is called Sabbath, but in that 24-hour period on that seventh day called Sabbath, there's a small endearing part of time where you rest, and that is the period in which Israel was collecting the manna, not the quail, right? So to end it off, it says 6 days you shall gather it. 6 days you shall gather it. Well, the gathering is only connected to the manna, and that only happens when the sun breaks to when the sun gets the hottest, because you got to get as much as you can within that period of time. And then you got to prepare it, and you can prepare it all throughout the evening. But on the 6th day, when you gather double and you do your preparation in the evening, you got to make the most out of what you have, because once that sun hits, all of that manna is going to expire, and you are to rest. So the typical period of time where you're gathering, you are now resting. On the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather, but they found none. And Yah said to Moshe, how long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, Yah has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, on the 6th day, he gives you bread for 2 days. Remain. So that means the bread that they're getting has to be processed, so they have enough for the 7th day. That's why they got to bake and boil it. They got to get as much as they can, because whatever you don't process, that is what stinks. That's what the worms get and they eat. That is what you cannot save over for the next day. Exactly. It says, so the people rested on the 7th day. Now the house of Israel called its name manna. It was like what? Coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey.
Yeah.
Moses said, this is what Yah commanded. Let an omer of it be kept throughout your generations, so that they may see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. And Moshe said to Aaron, take a jar and put an omer of manna in it and place it before Yah to be kept throughout your generations. As Yah commanded Moshe, so Aaron placed it before the testimony to be kept. The people of Israel ate the manna 40 years till they came to a habitable land. They ate manna till they came to the border of the land of Canaan. So Yah says, I've sustained you and provided for you for 40 years because you complained and murmured. But now you're going to have to go get it on your own. Because when they get in the land, they got to subdue the land, and then they got to work and till the land. So if they're keeping Yah's commandments, as he says in the book of Shemot or Exodus and Bamidbar, Numbers, and Devarim or Deuteronomy, he says, I will give you the rains in its seasons, and the crops will yield its fruit unto you. So I had a whole Sabbath lesson, Elder. It is called the manna of complaint or the fruit of obedience. See, a lot of times when we're operating in this walk with Yah, we have to determine am I over-reliant on the man of Yah? Am I complaining about things and whining about things and say, Yah, why you don't do this for me? Why you don't do that for me? And Yah says, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit here, here, and here just to sustain you. Because even if you have a child, because Yah is our father, right? Even if you have a child and the child complains about something, because I know I got 5 kids, and my child complains about something, I may get annoyed by it, I may be bothered by it, but at some point I'm going to give in, right? But that's not because I want to. That's because I just want them to be quiet, right? However, are we in that season where, Yah, I'm going to produce the fruit from the commandments you have given me? So what you've taught me, what you've trained me to do for myself, I'm going to do it so I don't have to complain and be over reliant on you. So the season we should be in, like Israel, when they got to that border of Canaan, Yah stopped the bread from heaven. He said, all right, now you got to get it on your own. It's just the same way where kids stay in the house for 18 years and the parents said, look, I raised you, I trained you, I told you what to do, I took care of you, was under my care and protection, but now you are a grown man. Now you got to go get it from the mud for yourself. Now you have to be autonomous. Now you have to be self-reliant, and now you should be able to also provide for those in your care. Right? So this is a lesson for us, not just for the Sabbath, but to know that at some point, Yah is going to stop giving you manna, and you will be forced to go get it from the mud yourself.
Right.
So I'm going to let you get the final words on that, Elder. Then I'm going to close up.
Appreciate it all, man. It just, it has me reflecting. Sometimes I think like how God interacted in their lives back then. How could they deny that there's a God? I mean, but then for us today, it's not that much different when you have that closeness, when you have that close relationship with Yah. People don't understand it. Okay. And then trying to explain it to make them understand it's useless because their doubt is going to prevent them from seeing what you're trying to relate to them. Like I shared a story with Sarnetta. How do I know God is real? Well, my experiences that I've had with him since I was 22 years old. Not just the transition of being on drugs since I was 12 years old, right? And then going into Christianity and being delivered at 22 years old. Not just that, not just a complete change of heart in the way I saw things. My first wife, and I'm gonna make it short and I'm gonna go. The reason why I'm not adding on to your bill, because you said what needed to be said, and I agree with it perfectly. No problems. So my first wife and I lost 7 children. We lost 3. My son was born. We lost 4. After the 4th child, I almost lost her with a septic poison of her system. And her blood started leaking out of her veins between her flesh. She swelled up. They revived her like 3 or 4 times that night. I got a call 4 o'clock in the morning telling me to get the family because they didn't think she was going to survive the night. That was back in 86. Well, 87, we decided to adopt. We went through the state of Maryland. That's where I was at the time, to adopt a child. And everything was except we got the call to come look at a child and all of that. And we were real excited about it. My mother called me. You know, in DC, we had Channel 7 News, WAMAL. And the news reporter was on. My mother called me and said, they just found a baby that's 3 hours old. She was left on the church step. My daughter knows this now. She's 35, so I can talk about it. But she was left on the church step. She was still connected to a placenta, and she was frostbitten because it was 2 days after Christmas, December the 27th, in 1987. And my mother called me and said, Stan, I want that baby. She said, but the Lord told me the baby is for you and my wife at the time. My mother spoke those words to me. This was in the evening time when the 6 o'clock news is on. I said, well, Mama, we're going in the morning, got an appointment because we going to look at a child. And we're probably going to come home with that child. And my mother said, I don't care what you say. I want this baby. But the Lord said he's going to give this. And we wanted a girl, but we were going to look at a boy. The next morning at 8:30, before we left the house, I got a call. The agency had changed their mind because I raised pit bulls. And my dog was in the yard. But nevertheless, a child in California that night had gotten mauled by a pit bull. So for the safety of the child, they decided not to go forward with the adoption. They're glad they caught us. And the only thing I'm thinking about is what my mother said. But I'm disappointed. 6 months go past. My wife and I talk. I get rid of my dogs because we want a child. That's what's important, right? I got a lot of love, and I want to share that. But I still don't know nothing about this little girl, or other than what my mother told me. 6 months done passed. We get a call to come in. They check and make sure that they asked me if I still had the dogs. I said no. Then they wanted to make sure I wouldn't hold any animosity because they know how I felt about my dogs, right? Still to this day, I don't raise pits anymore, but I got kind of corsos. All right, to make it short, mother, when they started telling me about this child, they're going to give you all the information they know. They didn't know nothing. And when they said they didn't know nothing,
that's how you knew y'all's real. That's crazy.
Man, the tears just started flowing, man. And she looked at me and said, they've been through a lot of adoptions and they've seen many mothers, potential mothers cry, but never have they ever seen a father cry.
That's real.
You don't know why I'm crying.
Wow.
You don't know what you just done. You have no idea. 6 months ago, my mother prophesied this day to me. Now, I told Sai, that didn't mean much. He can overlook that. But from then to this day, I can't dismiss that. That's God intervened in my life.
That's it.
How can I walk away from a God like that?
Not just that. He also intervened in those children's lives.
Exactly.
They could have been anywhere else in a worse predicament, worse situation, still been there in the system for God knows how long.
How long?
But he met the needs of both parties and coalesced them into one situation that was testified by your mother, and he put the stamp on it and say, here, sign.
And you know what? That kid that got mauled, he took care of that kid too.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? That kid, although a horrible thing happened to that child, but you can't tell me that God did not intervene in that child's life, man.
That's it.
I know he did.
That's
and
it.
That daughter, she's 35, gave me a set of twin grandkids.
All praises, man.
Plus another one. So, I mean, you
Ah.
man, when they say you can't beat God,
Mm.
you know, in a lot of ways, when I revert back to my Christian days, those 44 years in the pulpit, whether I was in the pulpit or not, but those 44 years involved in Christianity.
Foundation. That's the
Yeah.
foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you came from Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah.
As well. But when I think about that scripture that he'll be a light unto your path and a lamp unto your feet,
That's it.
that's what he's talking about. You know, they used to tie a lamp because they can watch as they walk that night. They didn't stumble over a snake or whatever. They had to see, but they had to see before them too. They just didn't have to see up close, but they had to see afar as well where they were going. So, yeah, God is gracious. I still don't like that Masoretic. I don't know, baby. I'm gonna have to sit down and.
You mean the Masoretic text?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as the script itself, so the script just is a physical etching of the oral language, right? So like today we speak English, but we use Latin characters to represent English, but we're not speaking Latin, right? So with Hebrew, you can use the Paleo Hebrew. That's what some call it, the Paleo Hebrew. Some call it the Phoenician script. You can use the Aramaic square script. All this just represents the oral language, right? You're just putting it down in written form so people can read it, right? And knowledge can be passed on and retained. Now, pronunciations is another thing. That's a whole nother conversation. What I will do for you, for the sake of time, is I'll give you a good book to read, and it puts everything in layman's terms and breaks down each of those systems. So you can learn about it objectively and say, oh, okay, I understand this. Because I realized that, with me, my preferred script to read would be the Paleo Hebrew. The places that we find the Paleo Hebrew preserved is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like there's a scroll called 4Q22, and it's a scroll about the book of Exodus, and it has the Paleo Hebrew. There's no diacritic marks, none of clue, nothing like that, right? And the people was able to read it with no issues, right? So the key thing is what was the pronunciation that they utilized when they were reading the Paleo Hebrew script? Now, there's a perspective that we get maybe from some in our community, and then there's some that comes from the academic side of things. So in our community, we say, oh, it's the same way that a baby knows how to speak, right? It's the ah sound. The ah is the most basic phonetic sound. And if this is something that would have been a pure language going back to Adam, then it would be in all A's, right? However, with that I-in, they make it I. They make it I, right? So what scholars say is that when they look at this, the best way to reconstruct the Paleo Hebrew, based on examining every other Semitic language that exists on the planet and the dead languages that we know about. If you look at all of this, how would this have been spoken without the diacritic marks? What are the vowel sounds that would have been used, right? So they posit something called the mother of reading, or what's called the matres lecciones, which means the yod when it's inside a word, or the wav when it's inside a word, it acts as a vowel, like I or I or or U, and then every other vowel is a ah sound. So that idea that you can say a after every consonant in Hebrew, that's fine. But when there is a yod or wav inside, from what they've seen, from all the data they gathered, from every Hebrew text that existed, whether it's inscribed on a wall or whether it's written on something like the Telerad letters, which is not biblical. Looking at all this data, they determined that that is the best way to phonetically pronounce words in Paleo Hebrew. Now, that's why I said I want to give you a good source so you can take a look at it. It breaks all of this down from phonetics to morphology, how things look, to how old it goes back. And these are just good tools to have in your repertoire because you're on Sinai's platform a lot. I used to be on it a lot. I kind of scaled back some, but I'm coming back to some. I didn't want to say much. A lot of stuff lined up, but But I want to make sure that you're equally as equipped to deal with these inquiries, because now you're on the front line for us. You should not be on the front line as an elder, but some elders still got that lion in them. They said, "Old lion is still alive."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
just can't pull a lion at him. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure that even if you are going to do it anyway, you got a stubborn elder that, look, no, I'm going to go and do A, B, and C because it edifies our people. A lot of people who's here now have seen you on Sana, so it's beneficial. I said, look, I might as well just equip him, make sure that he got everything, every tool, every shield, everything he needs while he's in the battlefield. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Appreciate that.
Be there. Yeah. So I want to get that to you because those questions may come up. You may get challenged, and anything you have a question about, Elder, if I have access to it, just email me and I'll send it to you. Right?
Okay.
Because sometimes I watch those shows, I'm like, they be asking the dumbest questions or the most questions.
Especially when it concerns me.
Yeah. Right. You got a lot of patience. I'm like, yo, when I'm 70, I need to have that patience. I would have checked out a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that is a testimony to those watching that we need more patience. See, you never know what's in you till you squeeze. If I go to the store and I buy a tube of toothpaste, it tells me what's on it, right? But I don't know what's inside it, so I open it up and I squeeze it. So you need that pressure on the cold parts of ourselves to see if it's enough pressure that's going to produce a diamond. Because a lot of us, we don't know what's in us until we actually are put under trial and tribulation. So you're going through that fire. Yah's refining you, because that's the type of fire you're going to, a refiner's fire. And those of us on the sidelines, we are learning because you are putting yourself out there for the benefit of the community. And I want to say we support you. We're going to keep you in prayer, Elder, keep you lifted up. And if you do need something I can give you, just send me an email and I'm going to send it to you. I got you.
I'm going to forward you an email with this information that I got from the Brit Hadishah website. And and whatever you got, send it back my way. Appreciate it.
I see you got a whole bunch of books in your library back there.
Oh, yeah. That's from my days of getting my degree. I got a in biblical studies, bachelor's of arts in biblical studies.
I'll give you an air bump on that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what's up, Elder. So I appreciate your time, Elder. Before you go, there's a brother that had a question for you. He says, hey, Brother Zaqan, this is Ayash. I got the 1,000-year answer for you. Do you know what he's referring to?
The 1,000-year answer.
Maybe some kind of interaction he had with you.
Maybe he's talking about the Manilian reign.
Yeah, that's what he was referring to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Elder, what's your email? How can they reach out to you?
Apostle Stan M at gmail.com.
Apostle Stan M. So the name Stan, like Stanford, and M.
M as in Montgomery.
Okay.
Apostle Stan M. That's my government name. At gmail.com.
All right. So y'all, that's the email right there in the chat. Y'all send the brother words of encouragement, your prayers, any information you have, send it to him because he is still on the front line, but he ain't gonna be there for him by himself for long. We're gonna join you and we're gonna make sure we got your back, Elder. Okay.
Yeah. Appreciate
your presence, Elder. I appreciate it. You enjoy the rest of your evening and your Shabbat, and I will definitely see you again soon. Okay.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
Right, shalom, Elder. All right. Good Elder, man. That's somebody I can say that has good character, brother. This brother, man, I've seen him from years because we use in the same circles on Sonetta, and that brother has the same demeanor, same character. Every time I've spoken to him in the past, he's always been humble, always been respectful. See, those are elders that I'm willing to not only put my life on the line for, but if they say, yo, Divine, you tripping, right? I'm like, all right, Elder, I'm going to scale back. I only have 2 elders in this walk that I actually pay homage to, and I'm willing to lend the ear. So if they give me correction, I'll receive it. Only 2 elders. I should have a plenitude of elders with all these hundreds of people that I know, probably thousands of people that I know in this walk. And I only found 2 elders, man. 2 elders. Now I can add apostle to one of those elders. That'll be 3. But only 2 elders that I found that I said, okay, I voluntarily humble myself under them, You know what I'm saying? Because in this walk, you do have to submit to somebody. Yes, we all submit to Yah, but you must also know how to submit to leadership. And that's the thing about leadership. Some people are leaders for so long and have no accountability, they don't know what it's like to submit when there's another leader around. It's okay as a leader to lead in serving others. You don't have to outshine everybody that's in your circle. You don't have to outshine everybody that's in your presence. You don't have to outshine everybody that's on social media. As a leader, yes, you have the right to lead. That's your birthright. That's what Yah has purposed you to do. But a best form of proven leadership is knowing how to serve another leader. And some of y'all don't know how to do that. Some of you think it's going to take away from who you are. No, it's not. It's going to add to who you are. Okay. All right. I'm just going to fall back. I love y'all, family. I love y'all. I love you. Thank you so much, Smoke, man. Oh, man, I'm honored to hear that, brother. All praise to the Most High, man. I'm just here to serve. Y'all know that. I'm just here to serve. Like Roe the chef, I'm just here to serve. All right, family. Yo, we have fun. It's over 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I have to go back to being a present father, present husband to my family. So I want to make sure that I have some buffer time to do that. I had a great time. Thank you so much, Apostle, for joining, Apostle Zaqan, for joining and gracing us with your wisdom, your testimony. And always delighted to hear that. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You've put so much information in there, man. I learned every time y'all come in here. Thank you for keeping the decorum. I didn't have to shout at anybody in the chat. Y'all was on your best behavior. Y'all wiped your feet off when you came in. You understood the house rules and you kept your decorum. So I can't be mad at that. So thank y'all for being on your best behavior. Thank y'all for contributing. I appreciate that. Again, if you want to support the ministry, you can see right here. You can do Cash App, PayPal if you want to give financially. I recommend that you can give financially, but support the Patreon, because as soon as you sign up for a TF subscription, you get a wealth of resources on that return of your investment immediately, right? We have almost 1,200 posts on there with a wealth and multitude of resources. Now, I want to share one thing real quick. Shout out to K Israel, my brother Yam Yah Banya Sharala in the building. What's going on? Unknown L Khan, what's going on? Ayash Khan, what's going on? What's going on, family? All right. Dominic Duolo says, are we in the new covenant? Brother, I did a whole live stream on that. All right, go check it out. I believe it was earlier this year, end of last year. Just type it in. Are we in the new covenant? Go check that live stream out. All right. I'm going to show one thing off real quick for the brother Nazarene Hebrew Institute of Technology. Hold on. All right, brother. So I can't find the first book by Douglas Petrovich, but because I do have it. Matter of fact, if y'all go back and watch the lecture I did in 2016, matter of fact, let me find that lecture real quick. Let me find that lecture real quick. That's a classic lecture, man. Let me find it real quick. And I put the link in the chat. If anybody's interested in shawls, I put the link in the chat. I'll put the link again in the chat if you want to get a prayer shawl. Right here. It's in the chat. And if anybody wants to get one of these, like I said, one of these Silver Scroll replicas, I'll drop that in the chat as well. But let me just drop this lecture in here too. Let me put this lecture in here as well. Let me show you this lecture. Hold on. Let me get it. And then we'll close out. All right. Where is it? All right. Here it is. So if you go back, if y'all are interested in Douglas Petrovich's work, so Douglas Petrovich is an archaeologist, and he attempted to reconstruct what we call the Proto-Sinaitic script into legible words, right? Phrases, sentences, etc. So he came out with a book dealing with the original alphabet or the language, Hebrew language, derived from various artifacts that he himself worked with from the Proto-Sinaitic script. And I use that source in this lecture right here. So if y'all want something good to spiritually feast on tonight, click on that link and watch that lecture, because I take his premise and I add to it and I present it in a presentation to guess who? Sonetta's audience. To Ankh, who was there, Brother Ankh, the real black atheist, schooling him, didn't know nothing about what I was talking about. But if y'all are interested in regards to how the script, since Elder brought it up earlier, Apostle brought it up earlier, the script, where it began and how it evolved to where it's at today and everything in between, I cover it in that lecture. And I use Douglas Petrovich's work to show the Proto-Sinaitic origins of the script before it turns into what we know today as the Paleo-Hebrew, right? But this is the successor to his first book, and this is called Origins of the Hebrews. He does discuss some of that in here as well. Make sure you'll get this as well, okay? This is him right here. All right? And this is the excellent. I love this book. This book was a great read, man. I got this directly from him. So, yeah. So this is for you, Nazarene. What's that? Hebrew Institute of Technology. If you're interested, you need to get this book. All right. Any of you out there, if you're interested, get this book as well. But that first book, when I find it, I'll show it on the live to you. And if you want me to, I guess, scan it and send some of the information, just let me know. All right. All right. I'm going to answer this last question. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate that, King. Shalom to truth, more truth in the building. Sister Ashaya Yasharala in the building. What's going on, sis? No problem. That's my sister right there. Good people's in the building, man. Thank you so much, brother Jeremiah Yamya Ban Yasharala, for the donation. I appreciate that. Y'all are good people in here, man. Man, you see this? This is what faithful to Satan is trying to stop, this unity amongst us. Every time I talk to that brother, he always tries to pit another Hebrew against us. Oh, you see, Devon don't teach what you teach. Devon don't believe what you believe. Hey, Devon, they don't believe what you believe. So he's trying to emote a response from out of you. And I just say, okay. And the brothers be like, okay. That's what we do in the house. Right now, we outside, fist up for you. Like, what's up? Like, whatever squabbles we got to do in-house, we do it in-house. We don't let colonizers in. We don't let colonizers mediate it. We don't let colonizers separate it. We don't let the colonizer do none of the talking or overseeing. I just watched a video. I'm going to say this real quick, and I'm going to get into that question. I just watched this video where there was this white girl, this white lady. She's not a girl, a white lady. She just winds up walking into this black woman's house and sitting down on a chair next to her bedroom. She's like, yo, why are you in my house? But he's like, what you mean? What? You just walk into somebody's house and thinking it's yours? Bro, that is wild. Now I'm going to say this. I don't have all the context. So maybe they know each other. I don't know. But you can't just walk up in somebody's house like that unless you got white privilege. White privilege still exists. Now we have Christian apologists who utilize white privilege to spy on the liberty that Yah has given to us in our community. They hate it. They despise it. Okay. So let me go into this. All right. So Personal Count says, question, why didn't we commemorate the death of Christ during the Passover? Well, the reason why we didn't commemorate the death of Christ for the Passover, because the Passover was originally instituted, according to Exodus 12, in regards to a memorial or Zaqan for what occurred with our ancestors in the wilderness. So the element of Christ reflected in Passover, that wasn't our theme for this year. So we will do that in subsequent years. That's like I have in the past, but we have not done it this year. Now, if you're interested in that personal account, I'm assuming you were somebody that was there at the Passover. Thank you for attending the Passover. I appreciate it. Or maybe you've seen the live stream. What I will do for you, since you're here, I'm going to send you 2 videos to satisfy that. So if you felt that it was insufficient or there was a deficiency in the mention of Christ and his connection to the Passover, I want to send some videos your way that I've done where I have spoken about this openly, right? So the first one is, this is a Patreon exclusive, but I'm going to give it to y'all for free here. And the reason for that is because if I have not done my job, right, or if you have critique in something that I've done that I could do better, this is where I'm going to do it at here. I'm going to make up for it here. And I'm going to provide this with you, okay? I'm going to give you this link. And hopefully you're able to enjoy it. I know you will. Copy. All right. Okay, let me drop this for you. Okay, that's one. And two, let me find, hold on one second. Let me get the other one. There's the other one. This one is called Feast Your Eyes on This. Here's the second link. All right. And I pray that that helps to satisfy that inquiry. All right. So I apologize if I didn't cover that portion of it. Again, that was not the theme of this year's Passover. But if you want to see what we've taught on this, what we shared on this, then the two links in the chat should suffice. All right. Okay. Shout out to my brother Aaron Gesturon in the building. What's going on? What's going on, man? The whole family's in the building, man. All right. So we're going to bow out. I see about maybe 20 people, plus people left already. It's getting close to the end. I want y'all to get ready for your Shabbat. All right. So they don't bring any burdens or any loads in on the Shabbat. Make sure you pray before the Shabbat comes in, or better yet, meditate. If you want to get that load off of you, pause. Right? That burden off of your shoulders spiritually or physically or whatever the case may be, whatever it is that's burdening you down from enjoying Yah's Shabbat, then I want to give you a method of venting and pouring all that out. Let me give you another means to do that. And if you learn to meditate before the Shabbat starts every week, I guarantee you will not be bringing any burdens in onto the Shabbat. Let me give it to you. This lecture right here is called Meditation by the Book. And I pray that it will bless those of you who watch it. And the other two links, I pray those will also bless those of you who watch it. If anybody in here is in need of anything, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com and give us the opportunity to serve you for all you have done and your support of us. All right. So thank you, family, for watching. I love you all. Had a great time. Thank you, Elder Apostle, as well, for being here. And I see you guys on the next live stream. Hey, if you're not part of this, sign up. What do you mean sign up? Hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed the content, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video on all social media networks and channels that you have so we can get the algorithm and beat it over the head and force it to push this into the forefront of those who are not aware of this information, who's not privy of this truth. All right. We want to get it out in as many channels as possible. All right. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Peace and shalom, family. Shalom. Shalom.